Warrior Lore. Chapter 39-37. Several figures appeared from the crack, and the one walking in front was Zichun. He looked down from above, and the two of them looked at each other. How is this possible? His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. There were several Earth Soul Realm cultivators outside, so how could they come in? Such a huge commotion had awakened Xiao from her daze. After seeing Zichun and the others, her eyes lit up a little. At this moment, Yin Jinlin could only see Zichun, Shanya, Longu Meng, and Old Tang. As for Wan He, who had attacked earlier, he turned around and looked at the people around him. His expression was very relaxed, and the golden saber in his right hand was leaning on the ground. The people from the Yin clan all stayed 300 meters away, not daring to take a step forward. The Earth Soul Realm cultivators who had appeared earlier had all become corpses, and the two halves of their corpses had fallen to the ground. Under such circumstances, who would dare to come forward to die? Fortunately, the other party did not continue to attack, or they would have scattered like birds and beasts. Zichun flew down from the crack, and the smell of blood inside made him raise his eyebrows slightly. He looked at Xiao, who had an abnormal expression, and asked, "Are you okay?" Xiao shook her head. Zichun looked forward again and saw the two old men, but they were too miserable. "We're not late, right?" Yin Junfeng laughed and said, "Not late. Not late at all. In fact, you far exceeded my expectations. I originally thought that I would have to suffer a few more months of torture before you could return." Yin Jinlin said in disbelief, "You guys colluded with each other? If we colluded with each other, do you think we would be willing to let Xiao suffer?" This time, it was Daoist Chun who spoke. He, who was still lacking in energy, seemed to have recovered a lot. "We're not like you, so cold and heartless." A ray of light flew out from the darkness and swept past Daoist Chen's body. The restriction chain shattered, and then the light flew past Yin Junfeng, unlocking the restriction on his body. It was a flying sword, and it finally returned to Daoist Chen's side and disappeared. Looking at the two who had escaped in an instant, Yun Jinlin's eyes widened. Beside him, Jiu Buyao took a few steps back in fear. "You want to ask us why we continue to suffer here when we can escape, right?" The one who spoke was Si Junfeng, and he answered his own question, "Because I want to catch all of you in one fell swoop. Only then can I eliminate all future troubles. I will never allow the same thing to happen again." Yun Jinlin's eyes were filled with despair. Clearly, he had not expected such a thing to happen. He glared at Daoist Chen. "It's you again, isn't it?" Daoist Chen said, "I only predicted that the Xi family would face this calamity. As for the source of the calamity, I really don't know." "Damn you." Qi Jinlin charged towards Daoist Chen. Daoist Chen's body glowed with light. He was actually an Earth Soul Realm cultivator. Qi Jinlin's forward figure suddenly turned and directly attacked Shijiu, who was beside him. This change was completely unexpected. At this moment, Yun Jinlin's eyes were filled with madness. Clearly, he didn't want to die here. He wanted to take Shijiu as a hostage. This way, he might have a chance at survival. "Second brother, you're courting death." Si Junfeng roared angrily, but it was too late to save him. At this moment, a black staff appeared in front of Yun Jinlin. The others couldn't react in time, but Zichun could. The black staff suddenly released rays of purple light, and a powerful aura emerged. With a loud boom, Zichun's body slid back, and the hand holding the staff trembled. After all, he was only at the human soul realm. It was still a little difficult for him to block an attack from an Earth Soul Realm cultivator. Yun Jinlin took 2 steps back. With these 2 steps, his fate had changed from life to death. Daoist Chen and Si Jinfeng stepped forward at the same time to stop Yun Jinlin. Zichun put away the staff and glanced at Jiu Buyao, who was about to sneak away. Jiu Buyao's expression changed, and his eyes were filled with fear as he stood there, not daring to move. The situation was hopeless. "You'll die a horrible death for ruining my plans." Yun Jinlin glared at Zichun with resentment, as if he was looking at an irreconcilable enemy. This time, his perfect plan had been ruined by Zichun just like that. Even his slim chance of survival had been destroyed by Zichun. "Jinlin, it's already come to this. It's better to speak less." Daoist Chen sealed Yun Jinlin's strength, and then gestured for him to go forward. Yun Zhenfeng walked in front. When he reached the entrance of the cave, he saw Wan He, who was holding a saber and intimidating everyone. His expression changed slightly. "It's actually you." Wan He nodded and smiled. "Does this count as you owing me another favor?" "You little brat, you still dare to ask me for a favor?" Yun Zhenfeng scolded jokingly. "Aren't you in seclusion in the holy mountain? Why are you willing to come out?" Wan He gently lifted the golden saber and put it down again. Yun Zhenfeng, who understood what he meant, sighed. "You're really amazing." At this time, Zichun and the others had already walked out one after another. Yun Zhenfeng no longer chatted with Wan He. A jade pendant appeared in his hand. The next moment, he threw the jade pendant into the air. Countless ripples extended in all directions, forming a strange vibration that spread into the distance. When Yun Zhenlin saw this scene, his heart was already dead. This was using the authority of the patriarch to start summoning all the higher-ups of the Yun clan. As the vibration passed, the identity tokens carried by the higher-ups of the Yun clan also vibrated. This was the patriarch's summon, so everyone had to return. At the same time, figures flew out from all directions of the Yun clan. Among the people around, many of them had blank looks on their faces, not knowing what was going on. "Greetings, patriarch." It was unknown who shouted, but many people knelt on one knee. Then, the others around them followed suit one after another. During this time, they even put away their weapons. Everyone knelt down. It was a sea of black, showing their absolute loyalty. Yun Zhenfeng waved his hand, and the token returned. After putting away the token, he turned to look at Xiao. "Xiao, follow everyone to the Undrunk restaurant first. When this matter is over, bring your friends over as guests." Xiao nodded, but she was still in low spirits. Yun Zhenfeng gently patted Xiao's head and said earnestly, "Silly child, don't let your imagination run wild. You'll be fine." Xiao nodded again. Next, the Yun clan would definitely welcome a large-scale purge. It was indeed not appropriate for everyone to stay here. Thus, after Zichun bid farewell to the old man, the group left. Along the way, everyone moved aside one after another, and the tense atmosphere that they had when they entered earlier had long since vanished. Chapter 39-38. On the way back, Xiao was clearly not in high spirits. She seemed to be in a daze. Lan Guming and Shanya comforted Xiao one after the other. They believed that no one would be in a good mood after such a big thing had happened to the Sea Clan. Zichun walked at the back. He was still adjusting his breath. Wan He had already put away his golden saber. He glanced at Old Tang beside him and said, "Who do you think is scheming against whom this time?" Old Tang shook his head. "I don't know." Wan He smiled. "Guess." Old Tang glanced at Wan He. "You weren't like this before." "Well, I've been on the mountain for too long. Naturally, I'll look for some fun after leaving the mountain," Wan He said with interest. Guess quickly." "Is there a need to guess?" "Many years ago, the Sea Clan suffered a great loss. Do you think they'll be willing to accept it?" Old Tang said indifferently, "This time, it should be a trap within a trap. They think they're better at scheming than others, but not everyone in the Sea Clan is stupid. Perhaps they've been waiting for this day for a long time. This time, there's a snake coming out of its hole. Also, who is that Daoishin? The Sea Clan has provided good food and drinks for so many years, but he still caused the Sea Clan to fall. How can he swallow this? Perhaps he's been thinking about how to take revenge all these years. Otherwise, how can his hair be so white? This time, he's really ruthless. Not only did he put the Sea Clan in danger, he also lured the demons out of their hole. He even schemed against us. Perhaps, before Zichun entered the Bamboo Sea world, he had already predicted this day." Wan He laughed. "Just a trip out and I've already encountered this kind of thing. How lively." Then, he shook his head and said regretfully, "It's a pity that this has nothing to do with me. Say, there are so many troublemakers in the world. Why hasn't anyone come to find trouble with me?" Old Tang was speechless. This was the first time he had encountered someone who thought he had no trouble. However, when he thought of the other party's personality, Old Tang felt relieved. Those people back then were simply courting death. The two of them didn't try to suppress their conversation, so the people in front of them could hear them clearly. Compared to Zichen's earlier prediction of danger, Old Tang's prediction was more realistic. Shijiu's mood gradually improved. It seemed that her grandfather still remembered her parents. This time, it could be considered as revenge. When he arrived at the Undrunk restaurant, the people here were exceptionally polite. He wondered if they had received the news in advance. The other party arranged individual rooms for everyone, but Lan Guming refused. She and Shanya gave up their own rooms and stayed with Shijiu. Shijiu was in a bad mood and needed extra care. Zichan and the other two stayed in their own rooms. They didn't need to comfort each other, and they didn't want to be disturbed. After returning to his room, Zichan continued to adjust his breathing. Because he had been too worried about Xiu's safety during the battle, he had used up a lot of energy. This was also because he had dealt with those Earth Soul Realm experts along the way. Although they were both in the Earth Soul Realm, he was ridiculously powerful. And the reason why he could rush to the Fong clan to save him was probably because of the token. He was like Li and Old Tang, his protector. And the one they were truly loyal to was Lan Guming. After all, the one who left the token was the Lan clan's patriarch. After recovering, Zichan took out a jade pendant. This was the Holy Talisman art he had obtained on the second level of the Holy Talisman Mountain, summoning Battle Spirit. Even though he had the mysterious Holy Talisman brush, he still hadn't comprehended it for a long time. At the same time, he hadn't comprehended the ultimate power of combat arts. Zichan was comprehending the spell in his room. In Shijiu's room, she told her two sisters what had happened. It was the first time the two girls knew about Shijiu's background, so they were silent for a moment. Shijiu was crying sadly. Lan Guming gently patted Shijiu's shoulder to comfort her. After a moment, the silent Shanya suddenly said, "Actually, you don't have to be sad. You should be happy." Shijiu looked at Shanya, very puzzled. Lan Guming was the same. How could she comfort someone like that? Shanya said, "Your parents were harmed. Your grandfather must have felt terrible for many years. This time, he let you enter the Bamboo Sea world because he didn't want you to be in danger. He was willing to be tortured so that he could find all the bad guys hiding in the family. Why was he doing this? Of course, it's to prevent the same thing from happening in the future. It's also to let you smoothly take over the clan in the future. Look, after you came back, all the problems were solved, right?" Looking at the problem from this angle, it seemed to be true. Shijiu was only a little frightened and didn't suffer any losses. However, the clan was rid of all future troubles. Shanya said, "Actually, the ones who really suffered were your grandfather and that Taoist. Especially your grandfather. The pain he suffered should be beyond your imagination." Shijiu nodded. After Shanya's counseling, she could already understand her grandfather. However, the Sea clan was still in turmoil, so she couldn't go back immediately. Looking at Shijiu, who was obviously in a better mood, Lan Guming suggested, "Why don't we go shopping?" "Sure." Shijiu didn't have any objections. Shanya naturally didn't have any objections. This way, she could still calm down. The three women left the Undrunk restaurant and walked on the bustling streets. This city was very lively. The incident in the Sea clan hadn't spread, and only a small number of people knew about it. At this time, the Sea clan's door was closed. The guards who were supposed to appear at the door had all returned to the clan. A thick smell of blood occasionally came from the Sea clan, accompanied by an extremely cold aura. Those who passed by the Sea clan's walls all avoided it. After so many years, the Sea clan once again welcomed a purge. This time, there were even more heads rolling. Among them, there was no lack of the heads of some core members. This time, the current head of the Sea clan, Si Junfeng, showed no mercy. Those who deserved to be killed, from the old to the young, were all killed. Even if they could be killed or not, more than half of them were killed, causing the Sea clan members to tremble in fear. During this period, there was naturally some unrest and resistance. However, Si Junfeng, who was already fully prepared, stifled all resistance. As the mastermind of this incident, Shijiu's second grandfather's bloodline was completely wiped out. Not a single one was left alive. At the same time, there was also a purge of varying degrees in many of the Sea clan's properties. This time, Si Junfeng deliberately took the risk to make Si Junlin careless. He wanted those who thought that the situation was over and were hiding in the dark to reveal themselves. Then, he would catch them all in one fell swoop. After a full 7 days, the purge finally ended. The Sea clan lost a third of its members. Many of the properties outside also suffered a huge impact. The purge this time was very successful, but the price paid was not small. The loss of assets was enormous. After Si Junfeng finished reading the secret letters sent from different places, a ball of flame appeared in his hand, and all the secret letters turned into nothingness. Pass down the order. No matter the price, we must silence those who escaped. Si Junfeng's eyes were extremely cold. The dignity of the Sea clan cannot be violated. When dealing with traitors, we can only fight to the death. Yes, someone responded in the dark, and then a black shadow disappeared. After dealing with a few more matters, Si Junfeng left the room. Just then, Daoist Chun walked over from afar. When he saw Si Junfeng, he was somewhat surprised. Are you going out? Everything has stabilized. I'm going to take a look at the Undrunk restaurant. I wonder how Shiju is doing. Si Junfeng asked, Are you going? Chapter 39-39. 7 days later, the Undrunken welcomed an important figure. This caused a great commotion in the Undrunken. Everyone was in danger. After all, the news of the bloodbath a few days ago had already spread. Even in the Undrunken, there were victims of the bloodbath. The tragic scene was still vivid in everyone's mind. Now, the head of the family had come personally. Was he going to do it himself? However, they soon realized that the head of the family was only here to find someone. In a private room that only the head of the family could open, the current head of the Sea family cupped his fists towards Zichan and the others. He said apologetically, I've troubled you all this time. If I've offended you, I hope you won't take offense. Beside him, Daoist Chin also followed suit. He waved his hand and said, Don't give me that. If you really felt guilty, you wouldn't have used this fool back then. Zichan was slightly startled. Was this fool talking about him? Si Junlin laughed. There was no trace of apology on his face. It's rare to see someone like that. Today's wine is enough. During the banquet, Shiju sat beside Si Junlin while Daoist Chun sat on the other side. It could be seen that the two seniors doted on Shiju. How was the trip to the Bamboo Sea World? Si Junlin took the lead and asked. As expected, he didn't have any intention of apologizing. Zichun simply recounted what happened in the Bamboo Sea, but he was quickly interrupted by Shiju. You're wrong. Let me repeat it. Sure enough, when it came to Shiju, her description was much more vivid. She also described some of the details of the battle in detail. Of course, she didn't mention the scene where she blocked the sword for Feng Wulian. This was probably the main reason why Shiju interrupted Zichun. She was worried that he wouldn't know how to speak and say something he shouldn't. Zichun smiled faintly and didn't expose him. After knowing what happened in the Feng family, Si Junlin and Daoist Chin laughed again. Si Junlin said emotionally, I've heard about Feng Wulian's matter, but I'm not sure. I've always seen him as a legend. I didn't expect him to have such an encounter and be able to endure for so many years. His temperament is really good. Now that he's in charge of the Feng clan, it's not that bad. Zichun nodded. The most commendable thing about Feng Wulian was that, after enduring and suppressing for so many years, he didn't lose his rationality and change his temperament when he erupted. Then Yun Junlin changed the topic, however. The Feng clan is unlucky to have met you, Wan He. It's fine if Golden Blade Wan He doesn't appear, but if he does, it's a chaotic world. Wan He smiled and said, Are you praising me or scolding me? Ma Junlin glared at him and said, You brat, you're still so stubborn. Of course I'm praising you. Judging from the tone of their conversation, it was obvious that they were once very familiar with each other. Shiju asked curiously, Grandpa, was that knife user very famous in the past? Li Shenlin did not find it strange at all that Shiju had used this tone to address Wan He. This was because Shiju had also talked about the hardships on the road, which made the old man's heart ache so much that he almost cried. He almost pointed at Wan He's nose and scolded, How can my precious daughter suffer such torment? However, speaking of Golden Blade Wan He was naturally very famous. Not only did he become famous at a young age, he was also second to none. In that era, he was a truly amazing person. Zichen was not clear about Wan He's origin. He had asked Old Tang in private, but the other party did not tell him. At this time, Zichen was also very curious when Shiju asked about Wan He's origin. Seeing that Li Jinlin seemed to really want to explain, Wan He immediately waved his hand and said, "Forget it. It's all in the past. Why bring it up again?" Li Jinlin said discontentedly, "So what if it's in the past? Tell them so that they can broaden their horizons and have a goal. Don't think that you're invincible all the time." After 3 rounds of wine, Li Jinlin opened his mouth and talked about Golden Blade Wan He's many achievements. This was how the name Golden Blade came about. It had to be said that Wan He, who became famous at a young age, was really invincible in the world. Suffering from no enemies, he finally chose to go into seclusion in an attempt to break through to a higher realm. Naturally, things did not end there. The turning point happened more than 100 years ago. At this point, Li Jinlin deliberately glanced at Zichen, which surprised Zichen a little. At that time, something big happened on the sacred mountain. All the forces were paying attention. Li Jinlin's tone suddenly became serious. In the eyes of outsiders, it was just a competition. However, in the eyes of many forces, it was a big gamble. Zichen's expression changed slightly. According to the time, he seemed to be able to guess what had happened. It was a battle of fighting techniques. You all know the result. Oli was defeated by Sacred Rao, and the Sacred Mountain Gambling House changed hands. However, this is only one of the things that most forces know. There are still some inside stories that no one knows. Li Jinlin glanced at Wan He and found that his expression was still calm, as if he had already let go of what had happened in the past. Just as the force behind Sacred Rao was about to take over the Sacred Mountain Gambling House, Wan He heard the news and came out of seclusion. Li Jinlin shook his head and sighed. It was a bloodbath. Wan He killed from beginning to end. Countless heads rolled. Even a few Earth souls died. If not for someone from the Sacred Mountain stopping him, Sacred Rao himself would have been killed. This is why the Sacred Mountain Gambling House did not fall into Sacred Rao's hands in the end. The impact of that battle was great and caused quite a stir. Unfortunately, only a few people knew about it. After that battle, Golden Blade Wan He entered seclusion on the Sacred Mountain again. When Oli was defeated, he was still able to leave the Sacred Mountain City alive. In addition to Old Tang's help, there was also Wan He's contribution. He had killed so many experts that Wan He could not pursue Oli with all his strength. Hearing Li Jinlin's words, everyone was shocked. Although they did not see the battle with their own eyes, they could still imagine Wan He's imposing figure in that battle. But what puzzled Zichen was, why did Wan He help Oli? One had to know that the Sacred Mountain had always maintained a neutral position in that matter. After all, it was a fair bet. As if guessing Zichen's doubts, Li Jinlin explained with a smile. As for why Wan He helped, the reason is very simple. His surname is O, and his full name is O Wanha. However, he became famous too early and became famous for his golden blade. After that, he went into seclusion for a long time. So many people forgot about this matter. Zichen suddenly opened his eyes wide and looked at Wan He in shock. His surname was O, so he was from the O family. Was he from the same family as Oli? Oli is my younger brother. Although he is a good-for-nothing, I have to say that even if he lost the gambling house in that battle, he was not wrong. O Wanha looked at Zichen and said with a smile, "You are the martial arts successor he chose. Now that you are in danger, I naturally have to go down the mountain. He is the young master of the O family. He chose you, so you are also the young master of our O family." Zichen recalled that when he was in the Li family, Wan He had said something similar and called him young master. Chapter 3940. Oli used a saber, and so did Wan He. The only difference was that Wan He didn't learn any fighting techniques. As an aristocratic family, it was undoubtedly a joke that their direct disciple didn't know any fighting techniques. Therefore, even if Wan He was a young genius, there were still all kinds of doubts. As a result, O Wanha became Golden Saber Wan He. It seemed that he deliberately wanted to avoid the O clan. Many years later, many people forgot that the declining O clan still had O Wanha. Otherwise, the forces that controlled Sacred Radiance wouldn't have dared to target the O clan. Although the O clan suffered great losses at that time and even lost the Sacred Mountain Casino, the forces behind Sacred Radiance suffered even greater losses and were almost exterminated. This was also the reason why the old ancestor of the Fong clan didn't dare to have the slightest thought of resistance after hearing Wan He's name. If they didn't deal with it well, the Fong clan might be destroyed. Several people were surprised by Wan He's identity. However, with the relationship between them and Oli, when they looked at Wan He again, their eyes were obviously more affectionate, as if they were seeing a family member. Yuan Jinlin invited Zichun and others to visit the family. Zichun nodded, indicating that he would definitely visit. After eating, the three girls went shopping again. With Xiao as the host, there were endless shops in the city and endless delicacies to eat. Walking out of a shop, Shanya was holding an accessory in her hand. She bought it earlier and was very happy. Her gaze swept through the crowd. It was not strange that there were unfamiliar faces. Suddenly, Shanya blinked as if she saw a familiar face. But in the next moment, that face disappeared. Was it an illusion? Shanya was slightly startled. What's wrong? Long Gumeng looked at Shanya. I seem to have seen a person, Shanya said. Who? Ghost King. Ghost King? Long Gumeng had seen the Ghost King once. At that time, he wanted to be the Oriole, but he didn't succeed. Didn't the other party escape from Luo Wei City? How dare he come here? Didn't he know Zichen's current prestige? If they dared to appear, it would be a matter of a stick. Lan Guming scanned the surroundings with her sole remembrance, but didn't find anything. Are you hallucinating because you drank? Lan Gumeng asked. It's possible. Shanya nodded. Because her vision was blurred just now, she couldn't be sure. She had indeed drunk some Buzure Xian when she accompanied Si Jinlin. This was just an interlude, and it didn't affect the rest of the three's journey. They strolled until the sky turned dark, and then the three of them went back. Zichun was sitting in a room. On the table in front of him was a whole row of blue crystal coins. At this moment, these blue crystal coins were disappearing piece by piece. The speed at which they disappeared was almost the same. Zichun was a little worried because he had two foodies by his side who only ate blue crystal coins. The daily consumption was a huge figure. The foodie you brought can eat too much, and it's useless. Why don't we just throw it away? Little Fairy flew out. When no one was around, it would come out to take a breather. Of course, it didn't forget to belittle the spirit robe. It had already instigated Zichun to give up more than once. Zichun pretended not to hear it and put another row of blue crystal coins on top. The little sprite immediately flew up, but before it could enjoy the feast, it saw that half of the blue crystal coins had disappeared. It was so angry that it screamed. This matter is over. It's time to leave. Zichun gently knocked on the empty table, and Little Fairy disappeared in a flash. After staying for another 2 days, Si Jinlin sent out an invitation for Zichun and the others to visit the Si family. This time, as the patriarch, Si Jinlin personally went out to welcome them. It had to be said that the standard was very high. Shiji was very satisfied with this. The wine used during the banquet was all top-notch Buzue Xian, which couldn't be bought outside. When they were about to leave, Zichen and Si Jinlin had a conversation about Shiju blocking the sword for Feng Wulian last time. When he first heard about this, the old man was extremely moved, but his emotions quickly returned to normal. I didn't protect her well that time. I hope Senior won't take offense, Zichun said apologetically. Of course, he wasn't here to take the initiative to apologize. Si Jinlin also understood what Zichun meant. He nodded and said, if I have time, I will pay more attention to Shijio. That's good. Zichun smiled slightly. Are you planning to leave? I'll leave tomorrow. So soon? We've been delayed for too long. We have to speed up the process. All right. Be careful. Have you told Shiju? I asked Shanya to pass on the message. The group left the Si family. Shijio's eyes were red and full of reluctance. Because they were going to leave, it would be extremely difficult to see them again. After returning to the Undrunk Pavilion, Old Tang called everyone together and told them that he was also leaving. You're leaving? Zichen asked in surprise, you're not coming with us? Old Tang shook his head and said, no, I'm just a bag of old bones. I can't last much longer. From now on, Wan He will protect you all the way to the north. The two incidents of the Fong family and the sea family made Old Tang feel powerless. As Zichen grew, the enemies he encountered became stronger and stronger. This was something that Old Tang had long expected. Just like how Oli had escorted him on his last journey and killed Sacred Ray, Old Tang could only send Zichen up to this point. The rest of the journey will depend on you all. I believe that in the future, you will definitely be famous in the north. In one day, he had to say goodbye to two people. This made Zichen sad. The next morning, Old Tang left. He had already said yesterday that he didn't need anyone to send him off. Zichen stood at the entrance of the Undrunk Pavilion and watched Old Tang leave. He didn't have any intention of saying goodbye. Old Tang's figure was a little stooped. Just as he was about to disappear around the corner, he gently raised his hand to say goodbye. He really left. He didn't even look back. At another corner, Xiao'er appeared. She was here to send them off. Long Guming and Shanya had already packed up everything. When he stood beside Zichen and said, "Actually, you should go up and say hello because we might not meet again tomorrow. Maybe we really won't meet again." Zichen didn't respond. Instead, he walked forward. Long Guming and Shanya had already walked out. They saw Xiao'er and went forward to hug her. Zichen stood in the distance and watched. "Not going to hug her? You won't have a chance in the future," Wan He teased. Zichen glanced at Wan He and went forward to greet Xiao'er. Unexpectedly, she took the initiative to hug Zichen. "Take care." Zichen smiled and accepted it calmly. "You guys too. I will miss you. If you pass by here, remember to come and see me." Tears welled up in Xiao'er's eyes. "Definitely." Zichen gently patted Xiao'er's head. "Cultivate well. I hope that the next time we meet, you will already be an Earth Soul expert." They parted with laughter. Along the way, there were people coming and going. It wasn't that sad, but there was still sadness. Chapter 39:41. Along the way, there were 4 of them again. One he replaced Old Tang, and their journey was no longer as easy. Every morning when they woke up, what greeted them was not prepared food, but the light of knife and tint. The 3 of them shared the attack, and the speed of their journey slowed down significantly. One he drove the empty carriage alone, following behind them at a leisurely pace. When the sky darkened, the 3 of them stopped to rest. Sometimes they would eat some food, but most of the time they would cultivate directly. Even though they suffered hardships, the progress of the 3 of them was very fast. After a few days, Zichen noticed that Shanya was a little worried, and her mood was obviously not good. "What's wrong?" Zichen, who was enduring the knife and tint, walked to Shanya. "I think I saw someone in the city last time," Shanya said after a moment of hesitation. "Who?" Zichen was a little confused. Someone who could make Shanya emotional. Could it be an acquaintance? And an acquaintance of Shanya's was naturally a friend. "It was the Ghost King," Shanya said. "At that time, my eyes blurred, and I thought I saw him, but it quickly disappeared." Lan Guming turned around and said, "I think it was a blur." Shanya nodded and said, "I think so too, but if it was a blur, why was it the Ghost King and not someone else?" Zichen was lost in thought. He had only seen the Ghost King once, but he had a deep impression of him. If Oli had not appeared in time, they would have been dead. Shanya had a deep impression of the Ghost King. When she and Noah came to this world, they were hunted down by the Ghost King's people for 100 years. At that time, Zichen guessed that the Ghost King should be related to the young man, but the young man did not appear, which made Zichen more suspicious. The young man could suppress his realm, but Zichen, who came to this world, could not suppress the realm of others. It was clear that even if the young man was from this world, he was different from everyone else. Shanya's concern was correct. Whether it was an illusion or a real Ghost King, they could not afford to be careless. Lan Guming could not understand why Shanya was so worried about a Ghost King at the human soul stage. Even Zichen was frowning at this moment. "It could really be an illusion," Shanya said. "Don't worry, we just have to be careful." Wan He, who was driving the carriage, did not care about this matter. No matter what kind of enemy it was, as long as he had a saber in his hand, he was not afraid of anything. In fact, he was even secretly hoping that the danger would be even more intense. After all, once he reached that place, endless dangers would await him. In the pitch-black night, Zichun sat cross-legged as soul power from the world continuously converged towards him. His physical body was absorbing soul power to grow, and the soul power in his body was also increasing. With Wan He's help, his progress was great. Shanya and Lan Guming were the same. Wan He was sleeping, and his snores were deafening. As the sky brightened, everyone got up and continued on their way. Of course, when Wan He woke up, he did not forget to give the three of them a stab as an appetizer. The current Zichun could already fight against an Earth Soul stage, but this Earth Soul stage definitely did not include Wan He. Even if the three of them worked together, they might not be able to block a full-powered attack from the other party, let alone him. At noon, they arrived at a lake. There was a small boat on the lake, and an old man in a straw raincoat was fishing in the middle of the lake. Wan He came to the lake and wiped his face. Then, he squatted there and looked at the old man in the middle of the lake. Zichun's expression was somewhat guarded. It was not normal for an old man to be fishing in this wilderness. Lan Guming and Shanya stood on either side of Zichun and naturally felt that something was wrong. The old man was motionless, like a pine tree in the forest. The small boat under him also seemed to be still. Zichun had the intention to retreat. Wan He was still squatting there, looking at the scene with interest. After about 15 minutes, the fish still did not take the bait. Wan He had lost his patience. He got up, and a large rock appeared in his hand. Without waiting for Zichun's reminder, he threw it far away. With a splash, the large rock fell into the lake, splashing water everywhere. It was like a downpour, hitting the old man's straw raincoat and falling into the small boat. At this moment, the fishing line sank slightly, as if a bait had taken the bait. The old man skillfully drew an arc with the bamboo fishing rod, and a small golden fish landed on the small boat. The old man's laughter rang out. Zichun's expression changed slightly. Only now did he realize that the fishing line was not a real fishing line, but a silk line manifested from energy. Similarly, the hook was also manifested from energy. This combination of hardness and softness was ingenious. Even Zichun, who was in the human soul stage, could not do this. I've been fishing for this golden-scaled fish for 3 months. I didn't expect to succeed today. The old man stood up and turned his head to look at Zichun and the others. If you don't mind, can you return to the villa to rest for a while? Let this old man do his best as a host, and consider it my thanks to you all. Zichun did not expect Wan He to help the old man by a stroke of luck. However, they were in a hurry, and the old man's strength was extraordinary. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Wan He took the initiative to say, "Okay, we're also tired. Let's go to the old man's place and ask for a drink." Zichun hesitated, but Wan He did not look back. The old man's small boat moved forward. When it reached the lake, the boat shone and doubled in size. Wan He jumped on and then looked back at Zichun. Zichun was a little helpless, but he could only follow. The boat went in the other direction of the lake, and no one needed to paddle. Shanya's gaze was a little strange. Because they were all in the human soul stage, they could fly. Why did they need to paddle? The golden-scaled fish from before was currently swimming in the wooden barrel. Occasionally, when it surfaced from the water, a golden light would suddenly appear. It was very bright. It's said that this lake is connected to the bottom of the sea. Occasionally, golden-scaled fish will come here to rest, but it's hard to find. The old man looked at the golden-scaled fish and said with a smile, "This fish comes from the deep sea. It's said that it lives in a place close to the core of the earth. It's born with the ability to use the rules and is extremely extraordinary. For cultivators in the world, it's an amazing opportunity to break through. It can allow a human soul stage cultivator to easily break through to the earth soul stage." Hearing the old man's explanation, Zichun's eyes had a hint of surprise, and he looked at the golden-scaled fish again. The scales on its body seemed to be made of gold, and on its back, there was a dazzling golden line that seemed to flow with the light of the rules. This thing can help people break through to the next realm? And it was very easy? At this moment, the 3 human soul stage cultivators were all moved. At this moment, the boat paddled to the end of the lake. A ripple appeared in front of everyone's eyes, and the boat entered the ripple. The few of them disappeared on the lake. Chapter 39:42. The boat did not reach the shore. It was still moving forward, and the lake water under their feet rippled. There was actually a different world here. The mountains were high, and the waters were beautiful. The lake water was blue, and from time to time, fish could be seen swimming on the surface of the water. Zichen's expression was strange. What a unique scene. The golden-scaled fish began to jump in the wooden bucket, appearing very active. However, it could only jump out of the water each time, but could not leave the wooden bucket, as if there was a restrictive spell restraining it. Longumeng and Shanya were also amazed. Such a beautiful scene was really rare. The old man laughed and said, "This is my place of water. I built a manor here." There was a white mist in front of them. As the old man waved his sleeve, the white mist rolled and dispersed, and a manor appeared on the mountain peak. The boat reached the shore. The old man picked up the wooden bucket and smiled, motioning for everyone to go ashore. The path up the mountain was a winding stone staircase carved out of white jade. There were some unknown creatures carved on it, which should belong to the creatures of the sea. Walking on the stone staircase, Zichun felt that his footsteps were a little heavy. Some creatures would appear in front of him from time to time, and they were the creatures carved on the white jade. It turned out to be a heart-tempering staircase. Although the quality was not as good as the one-sheen path that appeared in the sage heavenly mirror, it was still a great opportunity for most people. Seeing that they walked so easily, the old man was a little surprised. "I didn't expect the young hero's minds to be so extraordinary." At this time, the golden-scaled fish was still jumping. It was unknown whether it was happy or wanted to escape. Zichen's gaze was once again attracted by the golden-scaled fish. Did this little fish really have the ability to help a human soul break through to the Earth Soul realm? But it seemed that there was nothing special about it except that it was beautiful. As if it had noticed Zichen's gaze, the jumping golden-scaled fish suddenly turned its head and glanced at Zichen. That glance was like a vicious stare, but also like some kind of warning. Intelligent beings? Zichen's eyes flashed with surprise. Just as he was about to reach the peak, a golden-scaled fish suddenly appeared in front of Zichen. It came from the stone carvings beneath his feet. The golden-scaled fish's body was covered in golden light, as if the laws of the great Tao were circulating around it. At this moment, Zichen felt that he was closer to the Earth Soul realm than he had ever been before. It was as if he only needed to take a step forward to cross this threshold. A smile appeared at the corners of his mouth, but he did not take a step forward to take the opportunity. Having walked the one-sheen road before, he naturally wouldn't feel anything when he looked at these stone steps again. It was all an illusion. Longumeng and Shanya did the same, easily reaching the top. There was a trace of surprise in the old man's eyes. Although there weren't many people in his villa, it wasn't easy for a human soul to reach the peak. After arriving at the top of the mountain, the straw cape on the old man's body turned into a beam of light and disappeared. The aura that Zichen couldn't detect before was released, giving Zichen quite a bit of pressure. It turned out that the straw raincoat was also an extraordinary item. When they arrived outside the villa, a beautiful maid took the initiative to open the door and respectfully greeted their master. "We have guests. Let them serve them well," the old man said with a smile. The old man said with a smile. However, he no longer wore the straw raincoat. Instead, there was an indescribably powerful aura around him. "Yes." The beautiful woman lowered her head and said, "Please follow me." She closed the door of the villa. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the golden-scaled fish that they had caught earlier seemed to have broken through the seal and leaped out in an instant. The golden-scaled fish landed on the ground and transformed into a 7 to 8-year-old little girl. She was wearing a long golden dress, and her cold and tender face had a natural air of nobility. "Feng Yuze, do you admit to your crime?" The little girl looked at the old man and said angrily. There was a hint of dignity in her tender voice. The old man was slightly taken aback. However, he quickly reacted, and a light flashed in his eyes. Zichen and the others were shocked. It was very unusual for a golden-scaled fish to transform into a human. "You are?" Feng Yuze looked at the little girl in front of him in confusion. "Golden-scaled princess." The little girl said coldly, "Feng Yuze, do you admit to your crime?" Hearing this, Feng Yuze's eyes lit up. The royal golden-scaled fish is the royal golden-scaled fish. They are good at illusions and illusions. It seems that the heavens are treating me well. My luck is really good to the extreme. My idiot can finally be saved. The old man instantly made a move. Soul power surged out from his palm and fell on the little girl's body. The little girl felt pain and her body began to struggle. Then, she transformed back into her original form and fell into the bucket. The golden-scaled fish struggled in the bucket, but this time, it had already broken free. The maid from before stood at the side. She was expressionless, but her body was trembling as if she had been greatly frightened. This scene happened so quickly that Zichun and the others had no time to react. When they reacted, they saw that Feng Yuze was already in tears. He seemed to be crying and laughing at the same time. His expression was indescribably wonderful. When he looked around and seemed to be very curious about the things here. On the contrary, he was curious about the old man. Shanya and Lan Gumeng were at a loss. Obviously, they didn't know whether to persuade him or not. The heavens are treating me. Feng Yuze. Well, after so many years of waiting, the royal golden-scaled fish is finally here. The old man who was crying and laughing wiped the tears from his face with his sleeve. I've made a fool of myself. I'm really too excited. Everyone, follow me. Let's drink some tea first. I'll slowly tell you all about it. The old man carried the golden-scaled fish and walked towards the depths of the manor. Zichun and the others followed. However, in their hearts, they were all suspicious. Was the little girl from before real or illusions? Coming to the hall, the maid from before began to boil water and make tea. The old man took the bucket and left. He should be placing the golden-scaled fish first. After a while, the maid began to pour tea. The old man also came back quickly. He waved his hand and the maid retreated. You must be very confused. What is going on? The old man seemed to be in high spirits. He said excitedly, I built the Shueisho villa here. In addition to self-cultivation, it's actually more for the golden-scaled fish. To be precise, it's for the royal golden-scaled fish that can transform. You've already seen it before. When I put down my bamboo hat and lost my mind, the other party broke out and wanted to affect my mind. Senior, you mean that the previous scene was just an illusion? Zichun asked. Whether it was an illusion or not, you should already know when you came up. The old man said, in order to catch the royal golden-scaled fish, I spent too much effort. Over the years, I've caught a few golden-scaled fish, but the royal golden-scaled fish never appeared once. Until today, I've finally waited for it. Even though the old man suppressed his emotions, his body was still trembling. It was obvious that he was excited. Then, the old man said, to be honest, I caught the golden-scaled fish not to break through the realm, nor did I catch the royal golden-scaled fish for the realm. I wanted to save people, save the life of my idiot. Chapter 39:43. Speaking of his own child, the old man became even more agitated. With snot and tears, he recounted everything that had happened that year. 100 years ago, Feng Yuze's child, Feng Xiaoze, had just turned 16. He had made some achievements in cultivation and was considered a well-known young genius. During one of his travels, Feng Xiaoze came to a lake and met a beautiful woman. The shy young man was shocked by the woman's appearance. He stood there motionless as if he had been petrified. The woman noticed the young man and his embarrassment. She smiled and asked, "What's your name?" Her voice was very sweet. The young man felt his entire body turn soft. He couldn't speak clearly and stuttered. The woman giggled and said that he was an idiot. "I'm not an idiot. I'm a young genius." Thus, the young man met the woman and had feelings for her. The woman also accompanied the young man. This should have been a good story and Feng Yuze should have given his blessings. But who knew that the woman would suddenly disappear? It was as if she had evaporated from the world. Feng Xiaoze searched hard, but to no avail. He returned home in a daze, as if he had lost half his life. He couldn't eat or drink. After Feng Yuze asked about what had happened, he found out that something had happened. He came to the lake where he had fished and found the existence of the golden scale fish. Feng Yuze shook his head and said with regret, "I was careless. I shouldn't have let him run out alone, because that was a curse, A curse from Huang Jinlin. Huang Jinlin's curse? Everyone's expression changed. Actually, Feng Xiaozi didn't see a person at all. He only saw what happened in his mind. It was just an illusion, or an illusion. His consciousness has been in an illusion for many years. So after he fell into it, he couldn't wake up. All these years, if I hadn't poured my life into his body, my idiot would have died long ago. Zichun and the others were shocked when they heard this. A fish actually had such a method. What you saw earlier was actually just an illusion. You might not believe it, but this is Huang Jinlin's unique technique. It makes it extremely difficult for others to distinguish between reality and illusion. If you are careless and fall for it, you will suffer a fate worse than death. That's the curse of the Imperial Golden Scale. It's said that every single Imperial Golden Scale that's born will curse a human. The only way to remove the curse is to capture an Imperial Golden Scale, refine its soul power, and inject it into the victim's body. Only then can the victim recover. Feng Yuze immediately stood up and cupped his fists at them, saying, I, Feng Yuze, will never forget this great favor. If you have any instructions in the future, feel free to let me know. As long as I, Feng Yuze, can do it, I will do my best. While he sat there, drinking tea without saying anything, Zichun hurriedly stood up and said, Senior, there's no need to be so polite. We just happened to bump into each other. This is a great kindness, and I will remember it. When that idiot wakes up, I will definitely ask him to personally thank you. Immediately, Feng Yuze shook his head and said, That's not right. What kind of nonsense is this? Even with the Imperial Golden Scale, it will still take some time for the idiot to wake up. How can I let my benefactors waste time waiting? Quickly get someone to bring me a golden-scaled fish. The beautiful maidservant who had been waiting outside the door retreated. In just a moment, she walked in with a fish tank in her hands. In the fish tank, there was a golden-scaled fish swimming. The luster around its body was not as good as the previous one, and it was even less agile. However, it was a genuine golden-scaled fish. Over the past 100 years, I have been using my own life to prolong the idiot's life. As a result, I have become older and older. However, the idiot has fallen deeper into the illusory array. So I have spent most of my time fishing for golden-scaled fish. Although it's far inferior to the Imperial Golden Scale, it can still sustain the idiot's life for a period of time after refining it. Feng Yuze said, Now that we have the Imperial Golden Scale, it is only a matter of time before the idiot wakes up. This golden-scaled fish is of no use, so I might as well give it to my benefactor. Although it is not as good as the previous Imperial Golden Scale, it can definitely help a human soul break through to the Earth Soul realm. As Feng Yuze waved his hand, the maidservant brought the fish tank over. Zichun hurriedly waved his hand and said, You can't accept this. Actually, we didn't do anything. Feng Yuze said seriously, Perhaps your actions were unintentional, but to me, Feng Yuze, it is a great kindness. If you had not come here, perhaps the final result would have been that I would have exhausted my life and died here with the idiot. Therefore, I hope that you can accept it. If you are not in a hurry, when the idiot wakes up, I will catch another 2 golden-scaled fish as a final token of my gratitude. Looking at the still hesitant Zichun, Feng Yuze said, Could it be that benefactor is unwilling to accept it because you want my Imperial Golden Scale? Not at all, not at all. Well, I will accept it. It was difficult to refuse such kindness, so Zichun could only accept the golden-scaled fish. He was reluctant to accept it because it was too precious. Seeing Zichun accept the golden-scaled fish, Feng Yuze smiled again. In the evening, he held a welcoming dinner for the 4 of them and took out the best wine in the villa to entertain them. During the banquet, he would sometimes shed tears of sadness as he recounted the hardships he had gone through all these years. The hardships he had gone through made the eyes of Shanya and Lan Gumming turn red. Zichun was also deeply moved. Fortunately, in the end, Feng Yuze smiled again. It was like the clouds parting and the moon shining brightly. He finally saw hope and ushered in the dawn. Zichun put the golden-scaled fish in his room. They did not immediately go to rest. Instead, they came to Zichun's room to carefully examine the golden-scaled fish. It was indeed different from what they had seen before. It did not have the agility, but the aura of the rules was very obvious. The three of them were very interested in it. He sat at the side. He had no interest in the golden-scaled fish. He was already in the Earth Soul realm. This item was useless to him. This golden-scaled fish really has such an effect? Zichun turned to look at He. He glanced at Zichun and said, "Don't underestimate it." Zichin's eyes widened. "Really? What else? That old man is so old. Did he joke with you all day?" Zichun sucked in a breath of cold air. If it was true, then this was a great opportunity. No matter who refined it, there would be an Earth Soul Realm expert in the team. "I don't need it." Without waiting for Zichun to speak, Lan Ming was the first to speak. "My realm is still unstable. I don't need it now." "Me too." Shanya followed. "I don't need it either." He sat there. His expression did not change. In fact, this was already within his expectations. Chapter 39:44. Since neither of them wanted it, the golden-scaled fish would naturally be Zichin's. If he refined it now, Zichun would quickly advance to the Earth Soul realm. However, he hesitated. Seeing Zichin's hesitation, Lan Ming said, "I'm not being courteous. I really don't need it." With that, Lan Ming left, followed by Shanya. He stood up and said, "You can see it as an opportunity. It's up to you to choose." He also left. Only Zichun was left in the room. He looked at the golden-scaled fish in the fish tank and fell into deep thought. As if thinking of something, Zichun waved his hand and scratched the fish tank. There were no restrictions on it. The golden-scaled fish inside was still swimming like an ordinary fish. Zichun had killed countless people, even more so when it came to killing beasts. When he was in the Kata world, he even led the people of Kata world to fish and catch beasts. He never thought of himself as benevolent. However, looking at the golden-scaled fish today, looking at the fish that should be his food, he didn't know why he couldn't bear it. In his mind, he couldn't get rid of the thought of that little girl. "Looks like this golden-scaled fish is really amazing. I only saw it use its illusion once, and my heart actually wavered." Zichun shook his head and smiled. Then, he sat down cross-legged to cultivate. Actually, it was more about cultivating his heart. The next step after the human soul realm was the Earth Soul realm. For Shanya and Lan Ming, entering the Earth Soul realm wasn't difficult because they came from this world and were recognized by it. However, Zichun was different. When he entered the human soul realm, he relied on luck. Entering the Earth Soul realm was even more distant. This had nothing to do with one's potential. It was related to the rules of the world. The Earth Soul realm of this world was the Earth Soul realm. It had no special meaning. However, to the descenders of this world, the Earth Soul realm had extraordinary meaning. It represented an 8-star Saint Spirit and an 8-star Saint Talisman Master. According to Zichin's knowledge, there was no such Saint Talisman Master in the Saint Spirit domain. Once he broke through, it would be very easy for Zichin to become an 8-star Sacred Symbol Master when he returned. Right now, this opportunity was right in front of him, right in front of his eyes, just inches away. Was he going to miss it just because of that illusion? Even if there was a grudge in his heart, the one who had conjured the little girl was the Emperor Golden Scale. It had nothing to do with the golden scale fish in front of him. Moreover, had he not eaten enough fish along the way? They were roasted, boiled, and even eaten in different ways. There were all kinds of seasonings on top, and it was extremely delicious. I've eaten so many fish, so what if I eat one more today? Not to mention, after eating it, one would be able to advance to the Earth Soul stage, and the path ahead would be practically smooth. Even if becoming the final heavenly soul was still a long way away, he would still be able to save a lot of time. A great opportunity was right in front of him, but why was he hesitating? Zichin couldn't calm down and opened his eyes again. The golden-scaled fish was still swimming, but it was not lively. "I don't owe you, little thing." Zichin looked at the golden-scaled fish and said, "I don't owe you at all. You are my food. You are my opportunity to break through. The relationship between you and me can only be that you will be eaten by me." Zichin stretched out his finger and knocked on the fish tank. "Even if I feel guilty, I only owe that Emperor Golden Scale that knows illusion. I just can't save it. Besides, who knows if that little girl is real or fake? It's just that I can't see through it." Zichin knocked on the fish tank with his finger, and the golden-scaled fish inside swam a little faster. Zichun said fiercely, "I will eat you tomorrow. I will definitely eat you. After I ask Wan He, I will eat you. At most, I won't eat fish in the future, but I will definitely eat you. Eat you. Eat you. I will definitely eat you." Zichen's mood could not calm down for a long time. In the end, he simply stopped looking at it and closed his eyes to cultivate. However, the process was too difficult. The appearance of the little girl would always appear in his mind. Although Zichen repeatedly warned himself that it was just an illusion, and that it was fake, he still felt uneasy in his heart. This uneasiness and self-blame made Zichun feel guilty towards that Emperor Golden Scale. Therefore, he could not harden his heart and directly refine this golden-scaled fish. There is definitely no problem in this. If there was a problem, one he would have reminded me long ago. Zichen calmed his heart. I think too much. It seems that I have to think about how to refine and break through next. Gradually, Zichun seemed to have fallen asleep, and his mind was blank. The golden-scaled fish was still swimming, and there was a faint golden light shining from the water, reflecting on Zichen's face. The next day, the sky was bright, and Zichun opened his eyes. Last night, he was sitting cross-legged and actually slept. Now, he was refreshed, and his restless heart from yesterday had calmed down. "You little thing, I'll eat you." Zichun smiled slightly and reached out to knock on the surface of the fish tank, and the golden-scaled fish's swimming speed increased again. There was a knock on the door, and Lan Gumeng and Shanya walked in. Unlike usual, the first thing they saw was not Zichun, but the fish tank. After seeing the golden-scaled fish in the fish tank, the two seemed to secretly heave a sigh of relief. Zichun took in the subtle expressions of the two and said, "The two of you didn't come so early to see if I had broken through, right? Of course it's to see you. If there is one more Earth Soul in the team, we will be very happy." Lan Gumeng said. Shanya lowered her head. She was not good at lying, especially in front of Zichen. Zichen said, "How long have we known each other? Don't you have too little confidence in me? It's true that I need opportunities, but I also know what to take and what not to take." Shanya laughed. This was the Zichen she knew. "When it comes to such things, I don't feel conflicted at all." Zichen said boldly, "Actually, I've been planning to release them for a long time." Lan Guming tilted her head and looked at Zichun, as if saying, "Why don't I believe you?" Of course, Zichun would not say that he had been conflicted for most of the night, and finally made up his mind after waking up from a sleep. He swore that he was not a greedy person. A gentleman loved opportunities and took them in a proper way. A smile appeared on Wan He's face as he stood outside the door. "We've disturbed them for a day. It's time for us to go." Zichun held up the fish tank with both hands, wanting to put it away, but found that he did not succeed. He was a little surprised, but did not think much of it. When he walked out of the room, he saw Wan He walking out of the room beside him. "Why didn't you refine it?" Wan He asked, puzzled. "We'll talk about it after we leave." Zichen said, "The carriage is still outside. Are we leaving now?"
Yes.
Shanya and Lan Gumeng were also prepared to leave. All right then. Wan He did not have any objections. Chapter 39:45. What is the meaning of this? Feng Yuze looked at the few people who walked out of the room with a puzzled look on his face. Zichun said apologetically, "Thank you for your hospitality, but we have other things to do, so we have to leave." Feng Yuze immediately stepped forward and said with concern, "You haven't refined the golden-scaled fish, and you haven't broken through. Isn't it too early?" Zichen said, "It's not early. As for the golden-scaled fish, after we leave this place, we will refine it." Feng Yuze said, "No, that won't do. You are my benefactors, and didn't we have an agreement? After my idiot wakes up, I will help you catch 2 more golden-scaled fish." "No need. We are already very honored that Senior gave us a golden-scaled fish." Zichun said with a smile, "We appreciate Senior's kindness. If we have the chance to pass by here next time, we will definitely pay you a visit." Seeing that Zichun had already made up his mind, Feng Yuze sighed and said, "If that's the case, then I won't force you. However, since you want to leave, then you should at least refine this golden-scaled fish and break through before leaving. This is my wish, and I am grateful from the bottom of my heart. Zichen shook his head again and said, I really don't dare to disturb you anymore. After we leave, we will refine it. When he looked at Feng Yuze, and a sneer suddenly appeared at the corner of his mouth. So, you insist on leaving, and you can't stay for a moment? Feng Yuze's tone changed a little. Zichen's smile was still on his face. We have to leave. Feng Yuze stretched out 2 fingers and said, In that case, I won't force you. We will settle the karma here and never meet again. You have 2 choices. One is to refine the golden-scaled fish immediately, and the other is to kill it now. Zichen was slightly startled. What kind of karma was this? Otherwise, you can stay here and wait for my son to wake up. Feng Yuze said indifferently, In fact, I don't want to have too much karma with you. If you want to leave now, this is the only way. Feeling the other party's unfriendly tone, Zichen looked at Wan He and said, What do you say? Wan He didn't answer and asked, What do you think? Zichen said, I don't know much about karma, and I have never heard of this way of settling things. And after coming here, everything is strange. He doesn't care if we really helped him. He only cares if we have refined this golden-scaled fish. Maybe there is something wrong with it, but I don't know what the specific reason. Originally, I didn't intend to refine it, and now. As for killing it, it is also impossible. Wan He snapped his fingers and said, You're smart, so you're not stupid. Since you've seen everything clearly, then the test is over. You can start now. What do you mean? Feng Yuze asked, puzzled. Feng Yuze's expression changed. I invited you into the villa, and you want to kill me? Wan He's hand flashed, and a golden saber appeared. Stop acting. I know a little about the curse of the golden-scaled fish. It is actually very simple to break the curse. That is to transfer the hatred. For example, find another golden-scaled fish and let a second person refine it. Zichen's expression changed. He looked at the golden-scaled fish in the fish tank. Is this a golden-scaled fish? You know this secret? Feng Yuze was very surprised. Wan He said, You don't have much time. If you don't call some allies to help, I'm afraid you won't have a chance. Feng Yuze's expression changed again. Those sea monsters don't scream because they have no fighting power. Feng Yuze's expression gradually turned cold. It seems that you know everything. I know far more than you think. Wan He's voice also became cold. So, when you took the initiative to open the door and invite us in, your life has already started counting down? Is that so? Then I'd like to see what means you have that you dare to threaten to destroy my Shueisho villa. Feng Yuze waved his hand and said, You guys go first? From all directions of the villa, figures flew out one after another. They were all women, and each of them was extremely beautiful. Their auras were not strong, and their eyes were dim as they flew over. There was a light of power circulating, and it was a completely different aura. These weak existences were not a match for Zichen, let alone Wan He. Zichen could fight countless of them. Moreover, they were almost emotionless, which made Zichen suspect that they were all puppets. Wan He smiled coldly, and the golden saber in his hand had already slashed out. A circular saber arc, emitting a dazzling golden light, scattered in all directions and flew towards the approaching women. Zichen wanted to warn them, but it was already too late. The saber light landed on their bodies and instantly exploded. The imagined scene of them being split into 2 did not happen. The saber light turned into saber intent and entered their bodies, causing the women to fall to the ground one after another. They were not dead, but they had temporarily lost their ability to fight due to the torture of the saber intent. Previously, Wan He had used his finger to trigger the saber intent every day for the 3 to train themselves. This time, he was using the power of the golden saber to train the women. Anything else? Wan He asked. These are not enough. If you don't have anything else up your sleeves, I don't mind killing you with a single slash. Humph. Feng Yuze harumphed coldly and said, There's no need to hide anymore. If we don't kill them, we'll be in big trouble. As his voice fell, balls of black light suddenly appeared around the manor, turning into black-robed people one after another. Sensing the auras of the black-robed figures, Zichen's expression changed as he blurted out, The soul-devouring tribe. Kid, You've got a good eye. There's no way I'll let you live. Feng Yuze waved his hand and said, Kill the 2 men. I still have other uses for the women. The soul-devouring tribe charged forward. Wan He shook his head and said, You guys are too weak. I came all the way here, and you're using 3 earth souls to send me off? Even if they're different from the rest of the soul-devouring tribe, they're still looking down on me, right? With that, the golden saber light tore through the sky like a bolt of lightning, and an earth soul realm cultivator was sent flying. A strange look appeared on Wan He's face. According to his original intention, the opponent's body would have been split into 2. Interesting. He smiled faintly. A deep saber mark appeared on the body of the Earth Soul Realm cultivator who was sent flying, but it was not fatal. The energy from the surroundings was constantly gathering towards his body. Chapter 39:46. The Earth Soul Devourer clan member was healing his wounds while the other 2 continued to charge towards Wan He. As for Feng Yuze, he retreated. He did not attack and chose to watch from afar. In such a situation, there's no need to hold back. Wan He looked around and said, Kill as many as you can. Zichun nodded. He carefully put down the fish tank in his hand that seemed to contain the imperial gold scale. His figure then rushed forward. A light flashed in his palm, and the black rod appeared. Since there was no need to hold back, he might as well kill to his heart's content. He swept the long rod in his hand, and a black rod shadow expanded. Several members of the Soul Devourer clan were sent flying. The black light that flowed around their bodies dissipated, and their true appearances were revealed. After landing, they were fine and began to absorb the power of heaven and earth. The black light covered their faces again, and they charged forward again. The Soul Devourer clan had the soul-devouring superpower and could absorb the power of heaven and earth to recover. This was their greatest advantage, and everyone was a top expert. Zichun's attack did not kill anyone. Zichun was not surprised. When the second attack appeared, the black rod turned purple. As the rod fell, the purple light flashed and the members of the Soul Devourer clan were sent flying again. This time, they coughed up blood and were seriously injured. After Zichun attacked, Lan Guming and Shanya also attacked. The 2 girls did not hold back as the Soul Devourer clan was not easy to deal with. Feng Yuze retreated to the back. A black light appeared beside him and turned into a member of the Soul Devourer clan. The plan failed. Feng Yuze's face was gloomy. He thought that the plan was flawless. Who knew that the other party came prepared? The black-robed man beside him said, I received news that Feng Di's plan failed. It was done by a few young people. One of them is holding a rod-shaped weapon that can change color. It should be them. Feng Yuze said coldly, They just ruined Feng Di's plan and now they're here. It seems that they're really courting death. On the battlefield right now, Zichun was displaying his domineering side. As the purple light streaked across the sky, all the members of the spirit-gobbling tribe that came forward were sent flying while coughing out blood. It seemed like they had the upper hand, but in reality, the damage done to them was not that great because the Soul-Gobbling clan could recover at any time. Although Lan Guming and Shanya had encountered the Soul-Eater clan more than once, they did not have a quick way to eliminate the enemy. It was the same for Wan He, even though he had already injured all the Earth Soul Realm experts. However, they were like mechanical puppets that could not be killed. They did not know pain, nor did they know fatigue. They charged forward again. Looking at the battlefield, the man in black said indifferently, If they don't have any other means, they will definitely die. Yes, just by looking at the battlefield, Zichun and the others would die from exhaustion. But was that really the case? Bang, bang, bang. The purple shadow of the staff swept past, and several members of the spirit-gobbling clan were sent flying while coughing out blood again. However, unlike before, a black light appeared beside Zichun. It was the phantom ghost that Zichun had put away. It flew out like a black lightning bolt and arrived beside a member of the spirit-gobbling clan. It opened its mouth and swallowed it. It could not wait any longer. After Zichun gave the order, it started a massacre. The man in black could not help but change his expression. Feng Yuze cried out, What kind of monster is this? He was shocked because the life aura of a member of the spirit-gobbling clan had disappeared. This meant that he was dead. You idiots, do you really think that you are invincible? At this moment, Wan He's voice was heard. The golden saber in his hand began to tremble and let out a buzzing sound. Then, with a flash of golden light, an Earth Soul Realm expert was split into two. He was dead. Shan Yu's weapon emitted a dazzling light and hit a member of the Spirit Goblin clan. His body was torn into pieces. Lan Gu Ming's soul weapon swept past the neck of a member of the Spirit Goblin clan, and his head was instantly separated from his body. When one's injuries reached a certain point, they would naturally die. Such an unforeseen event shocked Feng Yuze. In the blink of an eye, the situation of the battle changed. 3 Earth Souls were killed by Wan He's 3 slashes, but his face also turned pale. As for the other members of the Spirit Goblin clan, they were being killed by Zichun and the other 2. However, just like Wan He, they seemed to be able to kill the enemy in one move, but in reality, they consumed a lot of energy. The Phantom Ghost's stomach had become round like a balloon. This time, even it was full. However, the result of the battle was still very impressive because they had almost wiped out a group of members of the Spirit Goblin clan. The man in black, who had not moved all this time, flew forward. Feng Yuze hesitated for a moment before following. The pale-faced Wan He stood with his saber and looked at the 2 approaching people. The man in black looked down at Wan He and said, "You are not weak. Unfortunately, you should not have come here." Wan He said indifferently, "Cut the crap. Use whatever means you have." The man stretched out 3 fingers. "I only need 3 moves to deal with you." Wan He's lips curled into a mocking smile. The expressions of Zichun and the others changed. Seeing such a powerful Wan He, the man still dared to say such words. It was obvious that he was very confident. The man's figure disappeared, and in the next moment, he was beside Wan He. Wan He, who was holding his saber, flashed as if he was about to attack. A fist whistled over and hit Wan He's temple. Bang! Wan He's body flew diagonally for dozens of feet, and then slid for dozens of feet on the ground until he hit the wall of the manor. Zichun was shocked and immediately retreated. At the same time, he did not forget to pick up the fish tank. Shanya and Lan Gu Ming also retreated and stood beside Zichun. They could not deal with an opponent of this level. When they looked at Wan He again, he had already stood up. He shook his head, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The man in black's expression was still cold. His figure disappeared for the second time. A roar sounded from Wan He's side. Wan He, who had just stood up, smashed his head on the ground like a hammer, creating a deep hole in the ground. "I can't bear to look at this." Feng Yuze sighed, as if he could already see the scene of Wan He's death. He looked back at Zichun. "Don't worry, it will be your turn soon." Zichun ignored Feng Yuze and looked nervously at Wan He. If he died here, then the 3 of them would not be able to live. Wan He's body bloomed with light, and the man in black rose into the air. The third move, Soul Devouring. A black energy flew out of his sleeve. Like a black dragon, it swooped down towards Wan He. Then, Wan He was devoured, leaving only the black dragon hovering in place. Zichun's heart sank. Feng Yuze laughed loudly. Lan Gu Ming and Shanya were worried. The man in black in the sky, who was originally full of confidence, suddenly changed. The confidence on his face had completely vanished. "I thought you could fight, but I didn't expect you to be so weak. Speaking of which, the soul-devouring clan sent trash like you to guard this place. Did they look down on us soul hunters?" Countless golden lights pierced the black dragon like sharp blades. A golden saber light cut through the black dragon and flew toward the man in black in the sky. A tiger's roar was faintly heard between heaven and earth. "When it gets used to it, I'll break the lamp in one fell swoop." Wan He's expression was very serious, and he didn't seem to be joking. On the surface, his words seemed to make some sense. Thus, Zichun nodded and made a move again. Feng Yuze didn't expose Wan He's lie, even though he didn't know what this powerful Earth Soul stage meant. And this seemingly smart young man turned out to be a brainless idiot. He couldn't even tell that he was being played. Zichun used his full strength a few more times, but every time the purple staff shadow soared into the sky, it was swallowed by the ancient lamp. Not only did his attack have no effect, it even made the ancient lamp's light stronger. Zichun was a little helpless. He turned back and glanced at Wan He. Wan He nodded and said, "Not bad. Continue." Zichin's face was a little angry. "Are you serious?" Wan He smiled. "What else?" Zichin said, "It didn't work at all. It even made the opponent stronger." "Oh, then it seems that it's useless. Rest for a while, then continue." Wan He said very casually. Zichun was so angry that his face turned white. "Do you think I'm an idiot?" Wan He said seriously, "You can't praise yourself like that." Long Guming and Shanya at the side couldn't help but laugh. Zichun was furious. He was usually the one who called others idiots. In the sky, Feng Yuza also laughed. "Idiot is indeed praising you. You're actually more of an idiot than an idiot. He's playing with you. Can't you see?" At this critical moment of life and death, Wan He actually dared to make such a joke. This made Zichun wish for nothing more than to give Wan He a good beating. How could he not know the immensity of heaven and earth? Of course, he was just thinking about it. After all, the gap between the two was too big. "I won't play with you idiots anymore." Feng Yuza glanced at the ancient lamp and said, "It has already devoured enough energy. Let's end this farce here." Feng Yuza formed a seal with his hands, and the light of energy disappeared from his fingertips. The ancient lamp in the sky suddenly released an infinite light, as if fire dragons were spewing out from it, falling in all directions. A fiery light shield appeared. Where it was, the space seemed to be burned and turned black. The buildings also disappeared into nothingness. The flame was terrifying. Before it even got close, everyone felt a strong threat of death. At this time, the flame barrier was shrinking. Zichun and the others were also getting smaller and smaller. "Quickly think of a way, or we'll die here." Zichun was obviously anxious. Long Guming and Shanya also looked at Wan He. The other party deliberately came here. Perhaps he had already anticipated all kinds of dangers, including this strange ancient lamp in front of them. "Death is the only way for you to escape." Feng Yuza smiled indifferently. Under the anxious gaze of the three, Wan He spread out his hands and said helplessly, "To be honest, I can't break out of here." Zichun was so angry that he wanted to curse. Unexpectedly, at this time, Wan He changed the topic and said, "But this girl can—" He looked at Long Guming. "Me?" Long Guming was slightly stunned. The flame barrier shrank obviously faster. Wan He said, "Time is of the essence, so I won't explain more to you. Follow my hand seals and watch all the movements. There can't be the slightest mistake. Life and death are on the line." Wan He put away the golden blade and prepared to make the seal. Long Guming copied the fish tank that Zichun gave her and gave Shanya the fish tank. She had never seen this seal before and didn't know what it was used for. But at this time, Wan He certainly wouldn't lie to her. She completed all the movements meticulously, but there was no reaction. Long Guming was stunned. Zichun said angrily, "Wan He, you're playing with us again." Wan He didn't respond. Instead, he looked up at the sky with a serious expression. The holy mountain was surrounded by clouds all year round, so people couldn't see the whole picture. Today, a strange force appeared and blew away all the clouds. A light mirror appeared out of thin air. It was the sage heavenly mirror. At this moment, it appeared in its true form. The next moment, the sage heavenly mirror began to shine. Its dazzling light even overshadowed the sun in the sky. A thick and straight beam of light, carrying a vast aura, shot up into the sky and disappeared into the sky. Everyone in the holy mountain city and the four holy mountain looked at this strange phenomenon in shock. Why did the sage heavenly mirror launch such a powerful attack? Above the sky where the Shueisho villa was, a huge light array suddenly appeared. The light array was rotating and bursting with bright light. The next moment, a beam of light appeared and went down. The next moment, a ray of light flashed, and the golden-scaled fish leaped out of the fish tank and turned into a little girl of 7 or 8 years old. It was the same girl that Zichun had seen yesterday. The restrictions here had been destroyed by the sage heavenly mirror, and her restrictions had been removed. "Feng Yuza, do you know your crime?" As soon as the little girl appeared, She stared at Feng Yuze. Her tone was still as arrogant as before. Zichen looked at the little girl. He still could not tell whether this was an illusion or reality. He looked to the side, and Shanya and Long Gumeng did the same. They slowly shook their heads. Inadvertently, Zichen glanced down. He did not know when those strange people had approached here. It seemed that they were going to surround this place. They were just one step away from jumping out of the water. Do I know my crime? What crime have I committed? Feng Yuze snorted coldly. At the same time, he tightened his straw raincoat. His face looked even older. You betrayed my sister's sincerity. After deceiving her, you killed her and used her rules to help you break through. You still don't know your crime? There was a cold light in the little girl's eyes. I am a human, and she is a sea monster. We are irreconcilable. Where did her sincerity come from? It was natural for me to kill her to break through. Who asked her to be so weak? But the Golden Scale royal family is so sinister and cunning. You secretly added a curse to my body. Feng Yuze said resentfully, the Golden Scale royal family should be the guilty ones. If it weren't for your curses, would I be able to hide here like this? Listening to the conversation between the two, Zichen suddenly understood everything. This little girl was real. She was a member of the royal family of the Golden Scale fish. She could transform, just like the demon clan in Zichen's world. She had an older sister who was in love with Feng Yuze. However, Feng Yuze killed her or refined her for his own realm. Then, Feng Yuze was cursed, and his vitality began to fade. His son, Feng Xiaoze, was just a made-up story he made up to deceive Zichen into refining the little girl in front of him. In this way, the curse of the Golden Scale royal family would fall on Zichen. At that time, Feng Yuze would be safe, and Zichen would become the cursed person. The other party's original intention was to find a scapegoat. This was a trap set up by Feng Yuze for everyone. Unfortunately, Zichen did not fall for it. If you only did it for your realm, then you shouldn't have betrayed my sister. Do you know what the greatest secret of the Golden Scale royal family is? The little girl looked at Feng Yuze with hatred in her eyes, but also pity. She answered her own question. It's your mental state. You won my heart, and I'm willing to accompany you in life and death, forming a heart-binding seal with you. When you encounter danger and your life is in danger, my life can be shared with you, saving your life. Similarly, the laws I comprehended can be shared with you through the heart-binding seal, helping you reach the same realm. Impossible. You're lying to me. You want me to feel guilty, right? Do you know how much effort I spent to kill her at the Earth Soul realm? I almost lost half my life. Now, you're telling me that she can help me break through? All my efforts were in vain? Feng Yuze said sternly, I've long seen through your Golden Scale royal family's treachery. Your purpose in coming here is to kill me, right? Let me tell you, that's impossible. Because this straw cape on me has the blood of the Golden Scale royal family, those bastards below can't see or hear me. And you, with your puny strength, are worthy of killing me? The little girl's face was filled with sadness. The so-called blood of the Golden Scale royal family was actually her sister's blood. All these years, Feng Yuze had always relied on the blood left behind by her sister to survive. When she thought of how her sister had entrusted everything, including her life, to such a person, she felt sad and felt bad for her sister. Since I've come to find you personally, I naturally have a way to deal with you. Looking at the crazy Feng Yuze, the little girl put away her sad emotions, and a white pearl appeared in her hand. She cut her finger, and blood dripped onto the pearl. In the next moment, the pearl was dyed in the color of blood. A suction force emerged from the blood-colored pearl, moving forward and landing on Feng Yuze's body. On the surface of Feng Yuze's straw cape, wisps of blood suddenly appeared. These came from the inside of the straw cape, brought out by the suction force. In the next moment, the blood gathered together, forming a person. To be precise, it was a woman. Chapter 39-49. The girl was dressed in a golden dress. She was beautiful and luxurious. Her figure was slim and her legs were straight. She stood in front of Feng Yuze barefoot. Her dress swayed and her figure flickered. She had a head of golden hair and a beautiful face. The old Feng Yuze looked at the beauty in front of him. He was curled up under the straw raincoat. His eyes were filled with shock. "Lin Yu, it's you?" The beauty looked at Feng Yuza calmly as if she was looking at a stranger. "Sister," the little girl shouted. Her voice was trembling, and there was a misty mist in her big, bright eyes. The beauty turned around and looked at the little girl. "You've finally grown up." Tears flowed out of the little girl's eyes as she sobbed. "It took me so many years to find this place. I've made you suffer." "Lin Yu, it's you. It's really you. I knew you weren't dead. Do you know how much I've missed you all these years?" Feng Yuza said emotionally. The girl called Lin Yu turned around and looked at Feng Yuza. "I've seen everything you've done for so many years. Of course, I know how much you missed me and my family." He could only hide in this restricted area. When he went out, he had to wear a straw raincoat and a bamboo hat. Over the years, Lin Yu, who had been attached to the straw raincoat, had heard countless curses and insults. She also saw Feng Yuza clearly. "Lin Yu, listen to me." Feng Yuza moved forward and wanted to grab Lin Yu's arm. The beauty was like a fairy in the wind. She floated backwards, and Feng Yuza missed. "Sister," the little girl shouted again, and the blood-colored pearl from before immediately flew into the sky. Lin Yu's red lips opened slightly, and the blood pearl entered her mouth. Her originally illusory figure gradually became real. "Lin Yu, listen to me. I have my difficulties." Feng Yuza begged. "Give me one more chance. This time, I'll turn over a new leaf. We can live like a couple in the future." Lin Yu said softly, "It's too late. There's only one chance. You and I are not fated to be together." The little girl said coldly, "My golden scale royal family has never betrayed anyone. Even if I have to sacrifice my life for the person I love, I will not hesitate. However, my golden scale royal family has never let go of anyone who betrays us. Not a single one." Below them, the monsters that had surrounded this place and were still in the water shot a beam of light into the sky. The beam of light landed in front of Feng Yuza, trapping him like some kind of array. Inside the formation, Feng Yuza was in a trance. He saw a young man with wounds all over his body. Under the pursuit of the enemy, the young man fled in a panic. His heart trembled as he ran, and he finally escaped to the edge of a lake. Exhausted, he collapsed at the edge of the lake, his aura growing weaker and weaker. "I can't die. I haven't taken my revenge yet. I can't die. I can't die." Before he lost consciousness, he muttered weakly. At the bottom of the lake, a golden fish happened to swim past. The young man slowly woke up. At first, he was shocked. He looked around vigilantly and found that he was still at the edge of the lake. However, the pursuers had not caught up. When he moved slightly, he felt pain in his body. When he lowered his head to look at his wound, he found that the surface of the wound was covered with a layer of transparent liquid. Strands of vitality entered his body and healed his injury. "You're awake," a gentle voice sounded. The young man turned his head and saw a beautiful face appear in front of him. He felt as if he had been electrocuted. His body could not move at all. "I'm Lin Yu. What's your name?" The girl smiled. Her voice was as light as a bell. Feng Yuza. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Zichun did not know what Feng Yuza was doing. He stood there in a daze as if he had lost his mind. Sometimes he would laugh, sometimes he would cry. After a while, his expression would become ferocious and he would curse, but soon he would lower his head and admit his mistake. He was like a child who had done something wrong. The light around them did not disperse, but Feng Yuza seemed to have lost his mind. Everyone else stood in place, not moving at all. Wanhe's expression was slightly solemn. "B asterisk TCH, you're AB asterisk TCH. You actually want to kill me?" Feng Yuza suddenly shouted. His expression was full of anger. However, he quickly said again, "I'm sorry. Everything was for revenge. If you weren't my enemy, I wouldn't have treated you like this. Lin Yu, your death actually helped me." Zichun noticed that Feng Yuza's vitality began to fade while he was in a frenzy. The straw cape that had lost its blood could no longer protect his body. Lin Yu watched this scene quietly. Her expression did not change at all. If this was fate, then it was also an ill-fated relationship. She had paid a sufficient price for this. Now, it was time for everything to end. Feng Yu's fading vitality flew to Lin Yu. She absorbed this vitality to stabilize her soul. This was the curse of the Golden Scale royal family. I'm sorry, Lin Yu. I'm sorry. In the end, Feng Yuze kept apologizing. No one knew what he had seen. His vitality was completely drained. He was like a skeleton. Finally, his body turned into nothingness in the air. At this point, the curse that the Golden Scale royal family had placed on him was removed. However, he had also lost his life. His vitality became the energy for Lin Yu's resurrection. However, she could not control this energy for the time being. He died under the curse and also died in the illusion. This is the method of the Golden Scale royal family. Wan He had unknowingly arrived beside Zichun. Dying in the illusion is also a form of relief. Zichun did not sympathize with Feng Yu's death. Just the fact that he had betrayed Lin Yu's friendship and killed her to break through was enough for him to deserve death. Not to mention, he had always been up to no good and wanted to scheme against Zichun. Now that Feng Yuze was dead and Lin Yu had been resurrected, it was time for the Golden Scale royal family to leave. At this moment, the little girl turned around and looked at Zichun. This made Zichun's heart tighten. They had heard the secret of the Golden Scale royal family. Was she going to kill them now? Unexpectedly, the little girl pretended to be an elder and said, "Your character is not bad. You did not have any evil intentions towards me. You can live." "Little sister, don't be rude." Lin Yu flew up and bowed to Wan He. "Thank you for saving me." Wan He waved his hand and said, "No need for thanks. Can your people move aside?" Those who had cast the illusion on Feng Yuze surrounded Zichun and the others again. Their eyes were cold and they were ready to attack at any time. The Sea Tribe will remember this favor. After leaving this sentence, the proud little girl flew down from the mountain peak. She fell into the lake and turned into the Golden Scale royal family again. The women who had fallen around and endured the sword intent also jumped down from the mountain peak. It turned out that they were also members of the Sea Tribe. "You are heading north, right? Maybe we will meet again. See you later." Lin Yu smiled and waved her sleeves as she turned around. The stone steps that led down the mountain exploded one after another. Soul shadows flew out from within and disappeared into the lake. These souls were actually forcefully sealed inside. Chapter 3950. The battlefield was a mess. Only Zichun and the other three were left. Shanya was still hugging the fish tank. What had happened earlier had a great impact on her mind. "Let's go." Wan He spoke, breaking the silence. Zichun came back to his senses and said, "Wait." He flew to the surrounding ruins, sometimes picking among them as if he was picking up junk. Of course, he was not picking up junk. He was looking for opportunities, looking for the treasure trove of opportunities in this manner. Yugue also joined in, rummaging around. The little fairy in the dark was giving Zichun ideas. It consumed a lot of energy every day. When he closed his eyes and began to regulate his breath, the previous slashes were powerful. Even if he knew that he could not break the ancient lamp of the soul-devouring clan, he still did not hold back. He let Zichun continue to attack with full force. It was not all a joke. The brighter the ancient lamp, the more powerful the aura it released. This way, it would be more conspicuous, and the sage heavenly mirror could see more clearly. This way, when attacking from a distance, there would not be any mistakes. After rummaging for a while, Zichun began to search the Dead Earth Soul Realm experts again. It was a pity that Feng Yuze had turned into nothingness and disappeared. Otherwise, there should be some good stuff on him. Wan He reminded him, "Leave the things of the soul-devouring clan. They will come in handy in the future." Zichun did as he was told. While rummaging, he asked, "What's going on?" Longu Ming and Shanya also looked at Wan He. "There's something strange here, so I came to take a look." Wan He said, "The Golden Scale clan is a kind of sea clan. They belong to a clan other than the soul-devouring clan and soul-hunting clan, but they have always been neutral. However, they will also set up intelligence points in 2 areas. For example, this Water Mountain Villa is one of them. There's one thing that Feng Yuze did not say. The previous lake does lead to the bottom of the sea, But no matter how good the soul-devouring clan or soul-hunting clan are in water, they will not be able to find it. On the shore, their strength is not strong, but in the water, in the sea, they are almost invincible. The Golden Scale tribe is a little special. They would often come ashore and look for the men of the hunting soul tribe. Once they find the one they like, they would wholeheartedly love him and even offer their lives to him. However, once they are betrayed, the betrayer would have to pay with his life. He said whatever was on his mind. Sometimes it's not all bad. After experiencing a betrayal, the road to growth in the future may be smoother. But the secret of the Golden Scale royal family was revealed in front of us. Aren't they worried that we will reveal the secret? Zichen asked doubtfully, when that time comes, won't everyone learn to endure? The way he looked at Zichen changed. It was as if he was looking at an idiot. How? You are a descender. So where are you going to leak your secrets? The Golden Scale royal family isn't interested in those two girls at all. As for me, I've long reached the Earth Soul realm. Why would I need the Golden Scale royal family? Zichen said, but we have friends. We will tell them. He sneered. There are millions of legends about Huang Jinlin in the world. There are even more stories that have been passed down for a long time. However, how many people are lucky enough to meet Huang Jinlin? Even if they meet him, how many people are able to obtain his heart? Don't forget, Huang Jinlin is an expert in illusions. How many people can stay true to their hearts? Do you really think that Feng Yuze is an old man? He just lost his vitality. When he was young, he must have been an extraordinary existence. In the end, he betrayed the Golden Scale tribe. Although the main reason was his temperament, Huang Jinlin may have added fuel to the fire. This is equivalent to a trial of the heart, but he failed in the end. After a pause, he said, even if it's Huang Jinlin, not everyone can kill and refine him. Otherwise, Feng Yuze would have prepared a scapegoat all these years. Zichen had finished cleaning up the battlefield. There was no point in staying here any longer. The stone steps that led up were all shattered. The restriction was also broken. The few of them flew into the distance. The commotion from before was not small. Several Earth Soul Realm experts and a dozen Human Soul Realm experts had died. However, it did not affect the horse by the lake at all. This horse was Wan He's. It was unknown where he had bought it from. What was that attack that appeared just now? Lan Guming, who had been silent all this time, suddenly asked. Zichen turned his head. That beam of light from before was a stroke of genius that saved everyone's lives. Could it be that Lan Guming did not know? He smiled. Wasn't that the attack you brought? Why? Have you forgotten it so quickly? Lan Guming shook her head and said, it has nothing to do with me. That power was not summoned by me. He smiled again. You were just playing with me back then. Lan Guming said with certainty. You first played with Zichen, then played with me. It's good that you know. Why did you have to say it out loud? Do you know how awkward it is for me? He said, actually, you can't say that I played with you. When I saw that you were so nervous, I just wanted you to ease the atmosphere. Look, didn't everyone relax after you formed the seal? Lan Guming agreed with this explanation. Otherwise, she would really think that he had some special method that she did not know of. Zichen was a little suspicious. He did often joke around, but at that moment, he should not have. However, he did not point it out, and Zichen did not ask. Flying to the front of the carriage, he patted the horse and said, old friend, you're quite calm. We just escaped from death. The horse snorted, as if in response. Recover first, then continue on our journey. After he finished speaking, he flipped over and entered the carriage. It was unknown whether he was recovering or sleeping. Zichen came to the lakeside and looked at the lake in front of him. The lake was very calm, and occasionally, he could see small fish swimming by. Was this place really connected to the bottom of the sea? In addition to the soul hunters and soul devourers, Zichen learned about the third race in this world today, the Sea Clan. Previously, Lan Guming and Shanya had consumed a lot of energy and were now recovering. Zichen still stood by the lake, looking at the lake in a daze. He had consumed a lot of energy, but he was not in a hurry to recover because he needed someone to guard this place. He had consumed a lot of energy, and Zichen was sure of that. It seemed that he had only used one strike to kill the powerful soul devourers, but the price he had paid was not small. Therefore, in this situation, Zichen had to stand up and protect everyone. At the very least, he had to let others know that there was still someone with peak combat power in this team. As for whether there would be someone secretly watching them, Zichen did not know, but it was always right to be careful. Yu Gue was also slowly recovering because he was full. He squatted by the lake and began to pick up stones, throwing them into the center of the lake. The stones hit the water, causing a dozen ripples, and fell into the center of the lake. In the distance, someone hiding in the dark quietly retreated. I told you that the demonic beast has extraordinary magical powers, and we shouldn't provoke it. None of them believed it. Look at what happened now. They were still alive yesterday, and now they've become stupid. Along the way, Zichen heard some discussions and saw many people gathering together, pointing and whispering. Shanya and Lan Guming curiously went up to join in the fun again. Zichen didn't go, but followed Wanhe's carriage. Wanhe didn't even lift his eyelids, as if he didn't hear them. They've really become stupid. It's like they've lost their souls. It's already a miracle that they're still alive. The two who joined in the fun came back and told him what they found. Zichen nodded and didn't say anything else. It's said that there's only one demonic beast, and it has such strange magical powers. What kind of demonic beast do you think it is? Lan Guming curiously asked. Zichen didn't answer and fell into deep thought. Is there really such a strange demonic beast in this world that doesn't kill, but only devours souls? Lan Guming asked again. She didn't expect anyone to answer and was mostly talking to herself. It could be the soul-devouring beast. A voice suddenly sounded. It was Shanya. She also came from Kata, and she knew more about the soul-devouring beast than Zichen. After all, she had been fighting with the soul-devouring beast since she could remember, and she was very clear about its strange power. Soul-devouring beast? What's that? Lan Guming curiously asked. Shanya glanced at Zichen and found that Zichen didn't intend to answer Lan Guming's question. So she took the initiative to explain. It's a type of soul-devouring race. Soul-devouring race? Lan Guming was slightly surprised. You mean the soul-devouring race we encountered before? High-level soul-devouring beasts can transform, and they become the soul-devouring race. In other words, the soul-devouring beast is the lowest level of the soul-devouring race, Shanya explained. We and the soul-devouring race are irreconcilable enemies. Since we found the soul-devouring beast, we naturally have to deal with it. While the two were talking, Zichen remained silent. Even when Lan Guming deliberately raised her voice, Zichen still didn't speak. Shanya, what do you think we should do when we encounter such a situation? Seeing that Zichen didn't respond, Lan Guming raised her voice again. It seemed like she was talking to Shanya, but her eyes were looking at Zichen. Shanya was a little troubled and didn't know how to answer. At the same time, she also secretly glanced at Zichen. The soul-devouring beast mainly relies on devouring souls to survive. If we don't deal with it soon, it will harm even more people. Shanya chose to give a compromise answer. It's better for people to die. If they don't die, they will become fools who can't take care of themselves. Not only will they live a life worse than death, but they will also drag down the whole family. That's really pitiful. Lan Guming looked at Shanya and said, Shanya, do you think we should leave now? And then allow that soul-devouring beast to turn everyone nearby into idiots? Shanya shook her head. She couldn't bear it. The soul-devouring beast hadn't reached the soul void realm yet. To existences at their level, it was nothing. Even if they took a slight detour, it was a small matter that could be solved with a slash. However, to the people here, this was a big matter. It was a big matter that concerned the destruction of their families. If that's the case, then let's just watch. We have nothing to do anyway. Zichen finally spoke. The man continued, if we don't have this much sincerity, how can we get rid of the evil? Or is it that there are too many people in your village and you don't care about dozens or hundreds of idiots? A child quietly peeked out from behind the old man. His clear eyes were filled with terror. The old man patted the child's head gently, indicating that the child should not peek out. The man saw the child and smiled. You look very cute. I wonder if you will be even cuter after becoming an idiot. The child hid behind the old man again. He was so scared that his body was trembling. He said in terror, I don't want to become an idiot. Mom and Dad suddenly became idiots. They don't recognize me anymore. I don't want to become an idiot. Otherwise, there will be no one to take care of Mom and Dad. I don't want to become an idiot, but you won't pay. The other party sneered. Grandpa Village Chief said that you are heroes who get rid of evil for the people. The child cried, Of course we are heroes. But didn't your Grandpa Village Chief tell you that even heroes need to eat, drink, and defecate? Zichin looked at the child. It reminded him of the Kata realm. The child looked very much like little Yangbao. He frowned slightly. These guys did not look like they were here to get rid of evil. They looked more like scourges. Lan Gumeng could not stand it anymore. She walked forward. Just then, a voice suddenly sounded. Can you be more shameless? They are already like this. Why are you here to cheat money? Now you are going to destroy a child's hope. I want to ask you, where is your sense of shame? Who is it? Come out. The man's eyes turned cold. He immediately turned around. A middle-aged man walked out. He looked at the other party and said, What can I do for you? A wave of pressure spread out in all directions. Sensing this pressure, those people's faces changed. One of them cried out, Soul Void. It's the Lord of the Soul Void realm. The middle-aged man's eyes turned cold. Get lost. Everyone felt as if they had been pardoned. They immediately retreated, not daring to say a word. In the blink of an eye, the old man's side was empty. The middle-aged man came closer and squatted down. The child looked at the other party timidly. The middle-aged man smiled and said, Don't be afraid. There are heroes in this world. You have to believe that heroes will get rid of evil for the people. The child pursed his lips, looking a little wronged. The middle-aged man stretched out his hand and patted the child's head gently. They were not heroes earlier. They are the enemies of heroes. They are bad people. They need heroes to punish them. Do you understand? The child nodded and said, Yes, they are those sinister and cunning villains in the stories. They need heroes to defeat them. The middle-aged man laughed. But the others around could not laugh. Those people earlier had powerful backgrounds. This soul void realm that appeared out of nowhere might not be able to suppress them. The middle-aged man stood up and looked at the old man. Old man, put these away. These were gathered by the villagers with great difficulty. They are their blood and sweat. I don't need them, and I can't take them. That demonic beast, I will kill it. Without waiting for the old man to thank him, the middle-aged man turned around. His gaze swept around, and when it landed on Zichin Trio, he paused slightly. Rising into the air, under a series of exclamations, the other party's figure broke through the air and left. Gua Village was filled with cheers. A powerful existence that could fly had come. Gua Village seemed to have hope. The others followed. Everyone wanted to see the scene of a soul void realm killing a demonic beast. Looks like there are still good people in this world. After everyone left, Lan Gumeng said. Shanya nodded and said, A soul void realm expert taking action. Dealing with the soul-devouring beast is not a problem at all. Let's go back. She agreed with Lan Gumeng's words. If that soul void realm expert could not be considered a good person, then what could be considered a good person? Zichin said, Let's go and take a look. The two naturally had no objections. Big brother, big sister, are you heroes too? The child from before suddenly mustered his courage and asked. There were only the three of them left. One stayed in the distance and did not come over. Zichin turned around and said with a smile, Hero? No, we are not heroes. We are the same as you. There is nothing special. Chapter 39:53. To a soul void realm, wanting to find a soul-devouring beast was not difficult. The middle-aged man merely used an hour to find the direction where the soul-devouring beast was hiding. Indeed, it was a soul-devouring beast that had yet to take human form. But its strength also reached Realm 9, just a step away from Soul Void Realm. Of course, Soul Void Realm did not recognize it. In his eyes, this was just a variant beast whose realm was not high. Beast, prepare to die. The middle-aged man roared angrily and charged towards the soul-devouring beast. A great battle erupted following that. Powerful auras surged. The surrounding large trees snapped one after another. Smoke and dust rose everywhere, fallen leaves dancing wildly. Both sides had a major realm disparity, but this battle actually did not immediately determine the victor. All hurry up for me. To dare spoil young Master Ming's business, simply courting death. The man who left previously brought his subordinates to the forest at this moment. The commotion of the battle was enormous. It was hard not to find this place. Apart from the people led by the man, there were also quite a number of people approaching in the direction of the battle from all around. They were all here to watch the battle. Zichen Trio walked at the back. Carriages could not advance in this place. One he did not follow. Soul Void Realm actually can't suppress a Realm 9 soul-devouring beast. This is really rare. Hearing the commotion of the battle, Lan Guming said, soul-devouring beasts are very powerful. They're adept at soul-devouring arts and are usually a realm stronger than ordinary soul hunters. Unless... Shan Yu's words paused and gave Zichen a glance. Probably only an existence like Zichun could easily finish off a soul-devouring beast of the same rank. Lan Guming understood Shan Yu's meaning and said, too bad. People with the ability don't plan on taking action. Zichun said with a smile, don't you have the ability to? Why don't you go and help? Didn't you see that I'm preparing to go and rescue? Lan Guming snorted. The smile on Zichen's face did not diminish. I saw it. It's just that the battle seems to have already ended. That soul-devouring beast is dead. Indeed, the huge commotion from before suddenly stopped. In between, it was even accompanied by the miserable cry of a soul-devouring beast. That Soul Void Realm one. Lan Guming heaved a sigh of relief. Zichun quickened his pace. The battle is already over. Why are you still going there? Do you want to see a hero make a triumphant return? Lan Guming asked, since you worship heroes so much, why don't you become one yourself? Of course we're here to watch a good show. If you don't hurry up, you won't be able to watch it. Zichen's figure left behind a series of afterimages. He had actually used his power. Shanya and Lan Guming looked at each other and realized that the situation was serious. They immediately followed him. The soul-devouring beast, which was nearly 20 feet long, fell to the ground, motionless. Fresh blood continuously flowed out from its wounds. The Soul Void Realm expert fell beside the soul-devouring beast. His face was extremely pale. There were several deep claw marks on his chest, so deep that his bones could be seen. These were left behind when he exchanged his life with this demonic beast. In his left hand, he held a shiny object tightly. It was not his soul weapon, but the fragment of a sharp weapon. Or rather, it was the fragment of a soul weapon. Although he had reached the Soul Void Realm, he still did not have a soul weapon that belonged to him. This was also the reason why he was unable to suppress his opponent, even though he clearly had the advantage in this battle. Looking at the dead demonic beast in front of him, the Soul Void Realm shook his head and smiled. You bastard, you can fight quite well. Fortunately, I still exhausted you to death. This time, after getting the reward, counting the blue crystal coins that I saved, I should be able to find a soul weapon. Great hero, let's discuss something. Can you give me the reward? A mocking laughter came from the forest. The sound of footsteps sounded. More than 10 people walked out from the forest. The one in the lead was the man who was scared away by the Soul Void Realm's shout. The Soul Void Realm's expression changed slightly. Not only did he consume a lot of energy in this battle, he was also seriously injured. He had long lost the strength to fight. He did not expect that the other party would actually return. Moreover, it was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. This made him secretly cry out that he was in trouble, but he did not show it. Instead, he said indifferently, "Are you courting death?" The man chuckled and said, "Trying to scare me? Let me tell you, I, Ming San of the Tiger Fong Path, do not have any other abilities. My ability to judge people is unique. You are already an arrow at the end of its flight. It is not easy for you to hold on. Do you still have the strength to fight? You are from the Tiger Fong Path?" The Soul Void Realm's expression did not change. His tone was still cold. "Do you know what relationship I have with the Tiger Fong Path?" Meng Sen walked forward unhurriedly. Sorry, I am not interested to know. I am not lying to you. I really don't. Even if you are the son of our pathmaster, it is useless in front of me today. Meng Sen seemed to be very confident. He waved his hand, and a person immediately came forward. He handed over a huge machete with both hands. Meng Sen took it in his hand and weighed it. He seemed to be very satisfied with the weight. He held the machete in his right hand and said with a smile, "Until now, no one has dared to come over. Do you know why? Because they know where I came from. Right now, they don't even dare to look from afar for fear of causing trouble." After the battle ended, the crowd that was originally pacing back and forth immediately retreated. Meng San was not powerful. In the crowd of onlookers, there were many who could suppress him. However, the Tiger Fong path behind Meng San was powerful. No one dared to provoke them. What kind of person is this old man? Why would he care about such a small amount of blue crystal coins? Meng San held the machete and walked forward. Master Meng San is just too bored and came out to have some fun. While I am at it, I also want to see their miserable appearances. Once I think of cheating them of their money and not helping them eliminate the demon, letting them turn into idiots one by one when they were full of hope, Master San's mood would be very good. Arriving in front of the Soul Void Realm, Meng San placed the machete on his opponent's neck. During this time, the Soul Void Realm struggled a few times, but was unable to move his body at all. The soul-devouring beast's methods were far beyond his imagination. It's all your fault. Master San's plan was ruined by you just like that. Not only that, you actually dared to tell Master San to scram, and even dared to use Master San as a negative example. Tell me, don't you deserve to die? Meng San's eyes flashed with a devouring light. You hurt my heart like this. Tell me, don't you think Master San should kill you? After killing you, shouldn't I go back and chop up that child? Didn't you not want to shatter the hope in his heart? This old man will bring the head of a hero like you back and crush his hope in front of him. Do you think Master San is a negative example? If you want to kill me, then kill me. This matter has nothing to do with others. The Soul Void Realm took a deep breath and said, Don't go looking for trouble with others. They are just ordinary people. Meng San chuckled. Looks like you aren't stupid. You know that after Master San kills you, he will go back and slaughter the entire village. That's right. Not a single one of them will live. Even those fools, Master San will kill them. The Soul Void Realm closed his eyes and said in a low voice, Master San, I'm sorry. It's all my, Zhangji's, fault. I hope Master San won't hold a grudge against me and let the others go. They are just ordinary people and don't dare to go against Master San. What did you say? Did Master San not hear you clearly? Meng San pressed down the saber in his hand and bent down. Say it again for Master San to hear. Master San, I'm sorry. All of this, just as Zhang Ji was apologizing, the saber in Meng San's hand left Zhang Ji's neck. Zhang Ji's body trembled, but his words didn't stop. It's all my, Zhang Ji's, fault. Master San, you. The saber was raised high and a cold light flashed, chopping towards Zhang Ji's neck. Your voice is too soft. Master San can't hear you. Haha. Meng San's sinister laughter rang out. And in the surroundings, the people brought by Meng San also laughed loudly. I say, the battle hasn't ended and the demon beasts haven't been eliminated. Isn't it too early for you to jump out and be the Oriole? Chapter 39:54. The broadsword stopped at Zhang Ji's neck. It did not hurt Zhang Ji at all. This was not Meng San stopping at the last moment. At this time, even if the Tiger Fong sect leader was here, he would not hesitate to slash down with his broadsword. It was a force that stopped him. It was as if someone was standing beside him and grabbing his arm. Around Meng San, the others turned around and gripped their weapons tightly. A young man walked out from where they came from. How dare you interfere in the Tiger Fong sect's matters? Are you looking for death? One of them shouted coldly. He was only at the 6th level. Zichen smiled and said, Everyone, don't misunderstand. I'm not here to be a busybody. I'm just here to tell you guys out of goodwill that the battle is not over. The mission to kill the demon is not over yet. You guys are early. I've heard your words. Now scram. Meng San glanced at the corpses on the ground. then looked at Zichun and said coldly. Shanya and Lan Gumeng followed. After he saw the two women, Meng San's eyes lit up, and he said, "Out of consideration for your meddling in other people's business, Third Master will repay you this once. I'll kindly accept these two beauties for you. Scram right now. If I see you again in the future, I'll definitely kill your entire family to vent my anger." At this time, Meng San could already control the broadsword in his hand again. It seemed like he was talking to Zichun, but the broadsword in his hand suddenly turned and slashed down with all his strength. Meng San knew very well that if he did not kill this Soul Void Realm expert today, he would not have a future. This was his only chance. If he allowed the other party to live, he would definitely suffer a fate worse than death in the future. "I told you, you're in too much of a hurry. The demon hunting battle is not over yet." Zichen's voice sounded again. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in front of Meng San. At the same time, an oppressive aura surged toward him. Sensing this aura, Meng San's body involuntarily trembled, and he could no longer slash down. This time, it was not Zichen's doing. Meng San raised his head and looked at the black shadow. It was a huge creature that was close to 30 meters in size. Previously, Zhangji had only killed a small one. Now, there was a big one. Meng San was dumbfounded. The people he brought with him felt that something was wrong and turned around one after another. When they saw the huge creature, they were even more scared and stood on the spot. They didn't even have the strength to run. This enormous soul-devouring beast did not roar in anger. Instead, it slowly moved forward. Within its ice-cold eyes, there seemed to be a hint of playful brutality. Zhang Ji's face also turned pale. Just from the aura, he knew that this was not something he could fight against. The news did not say that this demonic beast was so powerful. Shan Yu's expression changed. According to her understanding of the soul-devouring beast, as long as it could reach the Soul Void Realm, it could transform into a member of the soul-devouring clan. The aura of this soul-devouring beast was equivalent to the human soul realm. Why did it not transform? Or was it deliberately using its beast form? Lan Guming was also shocked. There was suddenly a hint of coldness in the eyes of the soul-devouring beast. A whirlwind appeared around its body and swept forward. Right at this moment, Zichen moved. He stretched out his palm, and a soul light flew out from his palm. Like a spirit snake, it wrapped around Zhang Ji's body and brought him back. As the whirlwind approached, Meng San's robes fluttered gently, and his hair fluttered. He stood there motionless, but his life force had been devoured. The large blade in his hand fell to the ground. He did not even have the qualifications to be an idiot. His soul was directly taken away, and he died on the spot. Zhang Ji's face was filled with fear. If it was not for the other party saving him in time, he would have died like Meng San. The others who followed Meng San reacted and wanted to run away. The whirlwind appeared again. It was black and extended in all directions. Zichun stood in place, and Zhang Ji stood behind him. Zichun did not move, but Zhang Ji's expression was changing. But soon, he became determined. He did not move either. The people that Meng San brought fell one after another. Like Meng San, their souls were directly devoured and they died. There was no possibility of survival. A whirlwind also came from Zichen's side, but just as it approached Zichun, it disappeared into thin air. When the few survivors who followed Meng San saw this, they immediately ran towards Zichun as if they had grasped at a life-saving straw. "Sir, save me!" As they ran, they shouted. Zichun stood there, indifferent. This time, even Lan Gumeng and Shanya looked on coldly. The soul-devouring beast swooped forward. The whirlwind in the forest became a hurricane, and the black soul-devouring power spread in all directions. The originally bright forest immediately became dark. Banging sounds could be heard from time to time. Zhang Ji's face was filled with fear. He stood behind Zichun, not daring to move. Just when he felt that his soul could be taken away by the black wind at any time, he saw a protective light containing a domineering aura appear from all directions, protecting him. The young man in front of him was still standing there. His body was as motionless as a mountain. No matter how the black wind raged, it could not get close to him. And in the wilderness, there were continuous screams. It was the people who had retreated before. For some reason, they did not leave. Now, their souls were being taken away. All of a sudden, the surging black wind became even more intense. It was the huge monster beast that was flying towards them. The young man who was originally motionless suddenly took a step forward. The ground around him shook, and a strong aura surged out from the young man's body. The light of thunder bloomed, and the surroundings that were originally covered by the black wind suddenly became bright. The young man punched out. With a loud bang, the monster that was hit in the head flew backward. The black wind immediately dispersed, and the world returned to normal. Zhang Ji looked around and found that there were only 4 survivors, including him. The others were all dead. After the monster landed, it rolled a few times. As if it knew that it was no match, it turned around and ran. Zichen's eyes had a trace of surprise. He had restrained a part of his strength before. It seemed that he had knocked the monster back with one punch, but the monster was not injured at all. Did it want to run? Was it too timid? Or was it luring the enemy in? Zichen glanced at Zhang Ji behind him and said, "You guys stay here. I'll go up and take a look." Shanya took out an elixir and put it aside. Her figure flashed, and she followed up. She did not know why, but the appearance of this soul-devouring beast made her feel very unwilling. "Hero, that's your reward. You can exchange it for blue crystal coins." Lan Gu Ming pointed at the soul-devouring beast in the distance, and then at the dead people. "These are also your trophies." After saying that, she also left. Zhang Ji was left standing alone in a daze. He could faintly smell a fragrant wind. "Hero." After a moment, he came back to his senses and laughed at himself. Chapter 39:55. Zhang Ji knew about the Tiger Fang Path. It was the largest faction here with a good reputation. However, it was his first time meeting someone like Meng-san. Meng-san had died long ago. It would be a waste not to take the money he had on him. As for the other things, he did not take them. Of course, he did not dare to take them. He looked around and found that many people had died. "Your luck is still a bit worse than mine." Zhang Ji looked at the dead people and sighed. Didn't they leave already? Why didn't they go further away? If these people had left earlier, they would not have died here. He searched their bodies and found some blue crystal coins. It was not a lot, but it was better than nothing. After doing all this, he did not leave. Instead, he looked in the direction Zichun and the other 2 left. Would the 3 of them be able to kill the escaping beast? The soul-devouring beast's speed of escape exceeded Zichen's expectations. Fortunately, he was not slow either. Shanya and Lan Gu Ming followed behind like 2 streaks of rainbow light. "Didn't I ask you to guard there?" Zichun said. Shanya and Lan Gu Ming shook their heads at the same time. "It's speeding up. We have to be faster too." Zichun did not ask any more questions. He sped up and chased after the soul-devouring beast. Shanya and Lan Gu Ming were on the left and right respectively. Beside Lan Gu Ming, a beam of sword light whizzed forward and flew forward. The soul-devouring beast seemed to have sensed danger and began to flee in an arc. The flying sword light pierced through trees. Those in the human soul realm can already transform. It doesn't seem to have the ability to transform. Its intelligence is also not as good as the soul-devouring clan. Shanya stared at the soul-devouring beast ahead. Zichen also noticed this problem. The opponent seemed to be a soul-devouring beast. However, the human soul realm strength could not be faked. Since it was already in the human soul realm, why couldn't it transform? The sword light was getting closer and closer to the soul-devouring beast. The soul-devouring beast seemed to be getting anxious. When it reached a cliff, it jumped down without hesitation. The sword light whizzed past and followed closely behind. In an instant, the sword light returned with a few drops of blood on it. Zichun and the others followed and stood above the cliff. The bottom of the cliff was empty. A few drops of blood fell to the bottom of the cliff. The soul-devouring beast seemed to have disappeared into thin air, its whereabouts unknown. "It's gone." Zichen looked around. Could it be that it has learned the invisibility technique? Zichen's gaze slowly moved around his surroundings. At the same time, he used his soul power to investigate every single corner. Suddenly, his pupils constricted as he discovered something unusual. At the same time, Long Guming and Shanya also seemed to have discovered something. A light flashed beside Zichun, and Wan He appeared. How is it? Zichun pointed at a certain spot on the cliff and said, there are some abnormal spatial fluctuations there. It should be hidden there. After he finished speaking, his figure descended and arrived at the abnormal spot. He then threw a punch at it. Waves of ripples surged out. Zichun's fist force dissipated, and a light screen appeared in front of him. The light screen seemed to be connected to another place, and Zichun's fist force had all converged into it. Zichun was slightly stunned. He subconsciously stretched out his hand and saw his palm easily pass through the light screen. He immediately withdrew his hand and turned around. Something strange. Long Guming and Shanya flew over. Wan He was relatively slow. Zichun told the three of them about his discovery. Shanya and Long Guming went forward one by one to try and found that they could pass through. But to be careful, the three of them did not rush in rashly. Instead, they looked at Wan He. With this powerhouse here, it was natural for him to take the lead. Wan He stretched out his hand and did not touch the ripples. Moreover, the ripples that appeared before had disappeared. Wan He withdrew his hand and smiled. Interesting. What do you mean? Asked Zichun. If I'm not wrong, this should be a space with restrictions on cultivation level. I can't enter with my cultivation level, said Wan He. In other words, those below the Earth Soul Realm can enter? Asked Zichun. His tone was much more relaxed. Now, he was almost certain that the soul-devouring beast had been hiding in this place. Perhaps the one that died earlier was also a soul-devouring beast from this place. And as long as it was a human soul realm cultivator, Zichun was not worried. Even if there were all kinds of dangers, he was still confident that he could make the trip. Wan He tried again and nodded. Yes, that's it. Long Guming asked, so, it's very likely that there's a place of opportunity inside? Wan He looked ahead and said, this kind of place is very rare. No one can guarantee what's inside. It could be an opportunity, or it could be danger. Wan He looked at Zichun again. What do you plan to do? Zichun thought for a moment and said, let's go in and take a look. Whether it's good or bad, that soul-devouring beast must be killed. Otherwise, with it here, this area can forget about living in peace. Shanya and Long Guming also nodded. Whether there was an opportunity inside or not, that was a question for later. That soul-devouring beast must be killed. Moreover, they had another guess in their hearts. Perhaps there was a group of soul-devouring beasts inside, and that could be their nest. Wan He had no objections to this, but he instructed the three of them to be more careful. Zichun was the first to enter. Shanya and Long Guming followed closely behind. This was a space that was not very big. The grass was green, and one could see the end of it at a glance. The energy in this area was very abundant, and it could be considered a good place of opportunity. As expected, the group of soul-devouring beasts did not appear. Other than the grass, there was nothing else. Look there. Shanya pointed into the distance. At the end of their line of sight, there was a black dot. That was the only abnormality here. The three of them flew forward, and the black dot in their line of sight gradually enlarged. It turned out to be a building. The soul-devouring beast of the human soul realm was not in their field of vision, so it should have entered that building. The building was 2 stories tall, like a manor. The door had been destroyed by force, which seemed to be the work of the soul-devouring beast. Arriving outside the building, Zichun looked down and released his soul power. There was no abnormality, nor was there any danger. The destroyed entrance was like another space passage. He did not know where it led, and his soul power could not detect it. After a slight hesitation, Zichun said, I'll go in and take a look first. His figure landed, and light flashed in his hands. For safety reasons, the staff and shield appeared at the same time. Zichun cautiously entered. The two of them stood outside and waited patiently. There were no signs of battle. After about 10 breaths, Long Guming, who did not see Zichun come out, flew down. She flashed in. After 5 breaths, Shanya also walked in. Shanya, who came in, was very careful, but did not encounter any danger. She saw Zichun and Long Guming standing there, looking ahead. Shanya curiously walked forward and stood side by side with the two. A bright light entered her eyes. The light was constantly changing, which was emitted by the miracle stone. There was actually a miracle stone here. Chapter 39:56. When he stood at the edge of the cliff, quietly waiting for the return of Ziqian and the others. Discovering a small space with a cultivation realm restriction in this place should be considered an opportunity. However, for some reason, he felt a little uneasy in his heart. This was also the reason why he left the carriage and came here. A ray of light appeared in front of Wan He. It was an old man. He looked at Wan He and said with a smile, "Are you waiting for someone?" Wan He's expression changed. The old man said with a smile, "It seems that it's true. However, I feel that the person you're waiting for might not appear." Wan He glanced down. The ripple passage was still there, but the bad feeling in his heart had become stronger. In the space that only human soul realm experts could enter, two young men appeared out of thin air. To be able to reach this place, the two of them were obviously human soul realm experts. At this moment, the two young men looked at the building in front of them. One of them couldn't help but sneer. "This time, in order to deal with you, we didn't hesitate to pay a huge price. We gave up a small world and even took out a miracle stone. No matter how careful you are, you will never expect that this is a trap." The other party said coldly, "Therefore, all of you have to die. You must die." I didn't expect your Lan family to have such a strong foundation. At this moment, Shanya had just entered the building. Just as the three of them were looking at the miracle stone, the young man from the Lan family snapped his fingers. In an instant, the building where Ziqian was hiding exploded. Powerful energy instantly flooded the surroundings. The building was reduced to ruins. Looking at the rolling energy in front of him, the young man sneered, "Let's see if you can survive this. That building is completely made of explosive talismans. Even an Earth Soul Realm expert will probably die if they enter." The man next to him said, "Your Lan family is so well prepared. Why did you come to our Sha family?" The young man from the Lan family said, "The reason why we asked you to come is just to be safe. That Ziqin guy is extremely strange. We've tried to kill him many times, but he managed to escape every single time." "You're worried that he's not dead?" The existence from the Sha family said, "Is that possible?" "It's almost impossible, but it's never wrong to be careful." The young man from the Lan family said, "This should be our last time, so we can't make any mistakes. Otherwise, you and I won't be able to go back." The person from the Sha clan smiled faintly. "You are too sensitive, this." His smile suddenly disappeared, and he couldn't say the following words. Amidst the tumbling energy, a ray of light appeared. It was a protective light shield activated by a saint talisman. Ziqian and the other two were standing inside the light shield. How could this be? The man from the Sha family cried out in alarm. "Didn't you guys plan this meticulously? How could he fail? Even the Earth Soul Realm experts inside are all dead. So why are the three human Soul Realm experts still alive?" The young man from the Lan family was also in disbelief. When he said "what if" earlier, he was just being polite. At the same time, he also wanted to let the people of the Sha family see the true strength and background of their lineage. Who would have thought that Ziqian actually didn't die? Their setup was very ingenious. There was a threat in the opportunity, so it shouldn't have been discovered in advance. Moreover, once the explosive talisman was activated, even if Ziqian reacted, he wouldn't be able to defend in time. Even if he activated the 100-soldier light shield, it wouldn't work. He would die in an instant. All of this had been planned, but why had Ziqian reacted so quickly? What was the origin of that saint talisman? How could it block the attack of the explosive talisman? Could it be that he had been holding it in his hand all along? The saint talisman was a gift from the mountain lord of Saint Talisman when he left the sacred mountain. Ziqian didn't use it all the way. He only took it out at the critical moment. There was one thing that the young man from the Lan family guessed right, and that was that Ziqian had been secretly holding the saint talisman in his hand. Just as the building exploded and the miracle stone exploded, Ziqian activated the saint talisman without hesitation. Then, without any hesitation, he activated the second and third talisman. As soon as the light of the first saint talisman appeared, it was destroyed by the terrifying energy. The second talisman didn't last long either. Immediately after, The third talisman dissolved the remaining energy. If Zichun hadn't been decisive enough to activate the 3 saint talismans in an instant, the 3 of them would have died even if they were vigilant. The violent energy around them dissipated. The saint talisman in front of Zichun also consumed the last bit of energy and shattered. The figures of the 3 appeared. At this moment, Lan Guming and Shan Yu's faces were pale. Especially after seeing the 2 people in the distance, they felt even more scared. This was a trap specially set up to target them. From the moment the soul-devouring beast appeared, this trap was set up. The person who set up the trap was waiting for them to take the bait. They didn't know if that hero Zhangji was an accomplice of the person who set up the trap. Fortunately, Zichun reacted quickly and saved their lives. As the energy dissipated, Zichun walked forward. A small world and a miracle stone. You've really invested a lot, but I'm sorry, you've failed. In the sky, the people of the Lan family and the Sha family had ugly expressions. Zichun said, "Don't think about escaping. You won't be able to escape. For your respective families, fighting to the death here is the best ending. You're lucky that you didn't die earlier. I'd like to see how strong you are to be so arrogant." The man from the Sha family waved his hand and light appeared in the dark. There were more than 20 human soul realm experts hiding in the dark. Looking at those human soul realm experts who were seething with killing intent, Zichun shook his head with a look of pity. This was the world of the human soul realm. Only those in the human soul realm could come here. Under such circumstances, facing Zichun at his peak was simply courting death. Moreover, besides Zichun, there were 2 extremely angry Lan Guming and Shanya. One of them was a divine soul goddess and the other was a god's chosen one. The battle broke out. Although these existences from the Sha family were all prepared and had many tricks up their sleeves, they were nothing in front of the 3 of them. The young man from the Lan family had a look of despair. When he saw that Zichun was unharmed, he had already lost all hope. Now, looking at this devastating battle, he was even more disheartened. His plan this time had failed again, and just as Zichun said, they couldn't go back. Even if it wasn't for himself, he had to protect his family from being implicated. Gritting his teeth, he charged forward and faced death with equanimity. And he was indeed dead. None of the human soul realm experts who appeared here could leave alive. Beside the cliff, he couldn't help but frown as he listened to the old man's nagging. The old man smiled and said, "Why? You don't like it? Do you think I'm spouting nonsense and that they can still come out alive? You're so stupid. I really don't know how you reached the Earth Soul realm." He said impatiently, "I don't know if they can come out, but you talk too much nonsense." With that, he struck out with his saber. With a flash of golden light, the old man's body was split into 2. "Take it that I, am begging you. Before coming, I beg you to do your homework and see who you're facing. Imitating an elder's nagging in front of me. Aren't you old men eating arsenic?" He continued to strike, this time from the side. The saber light entered the void, and there were ripples surging. The Earth Soul Realm expert hidden in the dark was killed with a single strike. Then, he slashed out a 3rd time. Chapter 39:57. 3 blades, 3 people, 3 Earth Souls. Sheathing his blade, he looked at the incomplete corpses on the ground and shook his head. Where did these country bumpkins come from? Back when he attacked the Fong clan, even the Fong clan's patriarch didn't dare to stop them and let them leave. But this time, the enemy had actually only sent 3 Earth Soul Realm experts. This gave he sufficient reason to guess that these people were ignorant and inexperienced. After killing 3 Earth Souls who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, he looked at the ripple passage ahead with some worry in his eyes. He could look down on the 3 Earth Souls, but he had to admit that the enemy's trap was exquisite. Even he couldn't see through it. It was a well-prepared trap, and he didn't know if Zichun could resolve it. That kid doesn't look like someone with a short life. He won't die here, right? He muttered in his heart. At this moment, ripples surged in front of him, and someone walked out. He's eyes narrowed, and a chill appeared in his eyes. But when he saw who it was, the chill in his eyes dissipated, and he smiled. It was Zichun. "I thought you died in there. Wanhee joked. I almost died. This is a real sure-kill situation. It can only be said that I was lucky to be able to come back. Zichen didn't smile, and his expression became very serious. Sure kill? The smile on Wanhee's face also disappeared. Zichen nodded. This time, he was really lucky. Shanya and Lan Guming also had lingering fears. If it wasn't for Zichen, the two of them would have died. At the same time, Lan Guming's face was also filled with guilt. I'm sorry. They came because of me. I can sense the Lan clan's aura. Even though those people didn't report their names, Lan Guming naturally knew their identities with her perception of the Lan clan's power. The reason why these people came was entirely because of Lan Guming. Until now, the Lan clan still hadn't given up on hunting her down. Zichen and Shanya were innocently implicated. Lan Guming felt even more ashamed when she thought about how she was the one who insisted on coming here to catch the demon. Zichen said, "You don't have to blame yourself. This is related to you, but it's not entirely your fault. We were able to escape death this time because we had the help of an expert." The help of an expert? Lan Guming was very puzzled. Where was the expert this time? Wanhee? Zichen wouldn't use that word to describe it, would he? Zichen glanced at Shanya. Shanya was puzzled, but she quickly reacted. She thought of the Ghost King. Although she had only caught a glimpse of him, it had still affected her state of mind, so she told Zichen. Could it be that Zichen was on guard because of this? Zichen didn't say it explicitly, and Shanya didn't ask again. Because the Ghost King might be related to that mysterious young man, and that mysterious young man had extraordinary magical powers. At least until now, Shanya had never seen an existence who could suppress another's realm through rules. Zichen nodded. Everything was in silence. Zichen didn't care whether the person Shanya saw was the Ghost King or not. He also didn't intend to ask why the Ghost King helped him. He thought of something. When he was breaking through to the next realm in Kata, a voice sounded in his sea of consciousness. It was a woman's voice, indifferent and emotionless. It was at that time that he obtained the technique to summon the underworld ghost. The underworld ghost that followed helped him resolve many crises. On the trip to the sacred mountain, it transformed into a real existence with flesh and blood. After that, the voice never appeared again. This time, the Ghost King appeared in Shanya's vision. There was definitely an expert helping him, but Zichen couldn't guess who it was. Fortunately, Shanya took that warning seriously, and so did he. In fact, when he saw Feng Yuza last time, Zichen had guessed whether this was a trap. The reason why he didn't refine the Emperor Gold Scale was related to his temperament, but also to his caution. Even if he did refine it in the end, he wouldn't do it in the water manner. He would leave and find a safe place. Zichen noticed the corpses around him, but his expression didn't change much. Since the other party came prepared, they would naturally send out Earth Soul Realm experts. However, they only sent 3 of them. They were underestimating Wanhee too much. Zichen went forward and searched, but didn't find any wealth. However, he did find 3 soul weapons. It was just that the 3 powerful Earth Soul experts didn't even have time to use their soul weapons before they died under Wanhee's blade. Let's go. Wanhee turned and the 4 of them walked back the way they came. On the way, they met Zhang Ji. He hadn't left yet. Shanya and Lan Guming's expressions changed slightly. This demon-killing trip was clearly a trap, and this Zhang Ji might be a part of it. When Zhang Ji saw the 3 of them, he said excitedly, "You guys are fine." "That's great." "Why haven't you left yet?" Zichen asked. Zhang Ji said embarrassedly, "I only killed a small one. The real great demon didn't die." Zichen said, "Now that it's dead, you've completed your mission." This made Zhang Ji even more embarrassed. Zichen threw something to Zhang Ji. It was a soul weapon. It was a mortal soul expert's weapon. Zhang Ji subconsciously caught it. After seeing the soul weapon, he was stunned and puzzled. You need a weapon to be chivalrous. A smile appeared on Zichen's face. Don't feel embarrassed. Just try your best to help more people in the future. However, when helping others, you have to do what you can. If the person dies, then there's nothing left. I understand. Zhang Ji nodded. Holding the soul weapon, he cupped his fists at Zichen. After swallowing the elixir Shanya gave him, he, who had recovered from his injuries, carried the dead soul-devouring beast and flew away. Lan Guming and Shanya, who had been on guard, finally relaxed. They had always thought that Zhang Ji might be an accomplice. A person who doesn't want to destroy a child's hope will not wallow in the mire with those people. Zichun looked at Zhang Ji's departing figure with a sincere smile on his face. The carriage was just outside the forest. It had left Gua village at some point. Next, it was time to leave. However, Zichun glanced at Gua village's direction and felt a little sorry for them. When he looked at Zichun, who suddenly stopped, Zichun said, "After all, this started because of us. Speaking of which, we also caused them to become like this. They are all innocent. Do you have a way to save them?" Zichun didn't care about the deaths of those who were in the forest. However, those ordinary people who had lost their souls did not deserve to suffer such torment. Shanya and Lan Guming also nodded. They felt very apologetic. "You want to be a good person. Why are you dragging me into this?" He curled his lips. "We don't have the strength. Who asked you to be a great expert?" Zichun chuckled and sighed in relief. It seemed that he had a way. So what if he's a great expert? Isn't he still a tool for you? You're a hero in our hearts. Bullshit hero. Whoever wants to be a hero can be one. He walked towards Guasiyuan, and the horse followed behind him obediently. Chapter 39:58. The old man was still standing at the entrance of Gua village. His wrinkled face was filled with worry. The commotion earlier was quite loud, accompanied by occasional screams. It seemed that something unexpected had happened. This made the old man even more uneasy. Little Bean was still standing beside the old man. His small hands clutched the corner of the old man's clothes tightly. His eyes were filled with tears. The screams made him tremble in fear. After the screams, there was a long period of silence. Some of the lucky survivors screamed, "Dead! They're all dead." Then, they ran away in fear. Does the heavens want Gua village to die? What sin has my Gua village committed? The old man raised his head and cried. He was on the verge of despair. "Grandpa, someone's coming." Little Bean saw several people walk out of the forest. The old man looked over and saw 4 people walking towards him. He remembered that one of the 4 didn't come over. The other 3 were the last to leave. At that time, Little Bean asked the young man a question. Little Bean didn't understand the young man's answer. When Little Bean asked about it later, the old man didn't understand either. "Old man, you're safe now. That monster is dead." Seeing the old man's nervous expression, Zichun said when he was about 10 feet away. "Really?" The old man couldn't believe it. Zichun smiled and nodded. "It can't be any more real." "That's great. The heavens have eyes. The heavens have eyes." The old man cried tears of joy. He was about to tell the rest of the village. "Little Bean, come with me." But after taking a few steps, the old man came to his senses. He turned around and said, "Young hero, thank you for saving Gua village. This is a token of our appreciation. Please accept it." The old man excitedly took out the blue crystal coin and handed it to Zichun with both hands. "We didn't kill the monster. We can't accept it." Zichun waved his hand. The old man was startled. "We're here to check on the unconscious villagers. This senior of mine happens to be an expert in medicine. We'll see if he can be of any help." Zichun pointed at he. The old man was naturally delighted, but he soon said with difficulty, "Young hero, to tell you the truth, Gua village doesn't have any money left. Previously, many doctors came because of your fame, but they... Don't worry, we won't prescribe medicine, and we won't ask for money. If we can't save everyone, we'll leave. If we can help, we'll help for free." Zichun smiled. He naturally understood the other party's concerns. Thinking about it, there should be a lot of doctors visiting this place during this period of time. There might be some who sincerely wanted to save people, but there should also be many who wanted to take advantage of the situation and make money. The old man shed tears of gratitude and warmly invited them into the village. At the same time, he told everyone the good news. Of course, Zichun told everyone that the one who killed the demonic beast was Zhang Ji. Little Bean was very excited because in his eyes, Zhang Ji himself was a great hero. He wanted to see the patients. Of course, he said that he was going to see them, but in fact it was just for show. Zichun was very clear about everyone's condition. Big brother, you're a hero too. Zichun sat in the village chief's courtyard and looked up at the sunset. Little Bean came closer and said excitedly. Zichan gestured for Little Bean to sit next to him. The child was a bit reserved. I'm not a hero. I'm just an ordinary person like you. Zichun patted Little Bean's head and said with a smile, your friend can save my parents and the others in the village. He's a hero, and you're a hero's friend. Of course, you're a hero too. Little Bean clearly didn't agree with Zichun's words. He forcefully explained, because a friend of a hero can only be a hero. Zichun smiled and said, a hero only does one or a few meaningful things and receives everyone's recognition. That's why they're called heroes. In fact, before doing these things, heroes are just ordinary people like you and me. Little Bean was clearly very smart. He asked, Big brother, you mean, I can also be a hero? Of course, when you do something meaningful one day, you'll be a hero in everyone's heart. Looking at the gradually disappearing sun, Zichun said, but you have to remember, heroes have to live first. Zichun thought of Zhang Ji. He only came here for the bounty and didn't want to be a hero. However, he didn't want to see a child's hope be destroyed so early, so he stepped forward to be a hero. However, he almost lost his life because of this. Although it wasn't very rational, Zichun didn't think Zhang Ji was wrong. This was also why he was willing to give him a high-grade soul weapon. This world needed people like him. In other words, only when there were more people like him could the world become better. Zhang Ji was someone who could make the world better. Pang Chong was the same back then. Zhang Ji returned. When he saw Zichun, he was very surprised. He immediately wanted to bow to Zichun, but Zichun waved his hand. As for Little Bean, he looked at Zhang Ji with eyes full of worship. Zichun smiled and said, Hero, I'll have to trouble you to make another trip to the town. Say that Gua village has a godly doctor who can save those who have lost consciousness. However, the godly doctor will only stay here for tomorrow and will leave the day after tomorrow. During this day, he will treat everyone for free. As a Soul Void Realm expert, Zhang Ji was very clear about the situation of those who had lost their souls. He didn't expect that this young man could actually revive their souls. It had to be said that this was very impressive. Therefore, this great hero didn't even have time to enjoy the worship of the villagers before he flew to the town again and spread the news. A day's time was enough for those people to revive. The sky was approaching. Zhang Ji, who had walked back and forth, returned and came to Zichun's temporary residence. Thank you very much for today's matter. Zhang Ji thanked him again. Zichun gestured for him to sit down and said, How much do you know about the Tiger Fong sect? Tiger Fong sect? Zhang Ji was slightly stunned. He didn't expect this lord to ask this question. Zichun said, Tell me everything you know, good or bad. The Tiger Fong sect is the largest faction here. The sect master is a human soul realm expert. It's said that his combat strength is very strong. Zhang Ji told him everything he knew about the Tiger Fong sect. There was almost nothing good. Instead, they suppressed many merchants and did many evil things. However, it wasn't too evil. For example, Meng San's situation, Zhang Ji told him the truth. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. The other party's personality was twisted. He took pleasure in killing people. Furthermore, Zhang Ji told Zichun that Meng San might be from the Tiger Fong sect. Perhaps he was a direct descendant of the Tiger Fong sect. He might have made a mistake, so he came to this place. That night, Zichun left his room and went to the Tiger Fong sect. Chapter 3959. The Tiger Fong path suffered a huge blow, which exceeded everyone's expectations. While everyone was shocked, there were also many people who clapped their hands in joy. Relying on their strength, the people of the Tiger Fong path bullied many others. Whether in the open or in the dark, there were many who had their families destroyed. After learning that only one person had caused trouble for the Tiger Fong path, people could not help but guess that the arrogant Tiger Fong path had finally provoked someone they should not have. When Zhang Ji, who had been staying in Gua village, heard the news, Zichun's group had already left. Estimating the time, it should have been the night when he told Zichun about the Tiger Fong path. Zhang Ji was very shocked. He did not expect Zichun to be so strong. However, when he thought of the existence following him, who could even recover the souls of ordinary people, he understood. The Tiger Fang path suffering a heavy blow was naturally a good thing for Zhang Ji. After all, he had returned to Gua village because he was worried about the Tiger Fang path revenge. Now, it seemed that he did not need to worry anymore. The dead Ming San probably would not have thought that his viciousness would cause the Tiger Fang path such a huge loss. However, he would not leave immediately. According to his agreement with Zichun, he needed to stay here for 2 years. During these 2 years, he needed to teach little bean cultivation. Of course, he could also teach the other children. Similarly, during these 2 years, he could calmly refine the soul weapon that Zichun had given him. Its grade was so high that it left him speechless. Even if he spent 2 years, he might not be able to refine it. The 4 of them continued north. The saber intent that had not appeared before once again landed on the 3 of them. The road ahead became difficult again. He abandoned the carriage and followed behind the 3 of them on horseback. This trip was considered a sightseeing trip. If it were not for the saber intent, it would have been a rare trip. Once, in the wilderness, they saw a person living in a thatched hut. He was a human soul who was only a step away from the Earth Soul realm. According to Wan He, a breakthrough was just around the corner. When the 4 of them passed by, the other party warmly invited them to drink a cup of mountain tea. He even saw a battle in a remote place. Both parties were in the human soul realm, and for some reason, they fought to the death. When the 4 of them approached, the 2 of them stopped and waited for the 4 of them to pass before continuing to attack. Zichun didn't understand why Wan He deliberately walked between them. Wan He's explanation also puzzled Zichun. It was not easy to be a cultivator here. It would be good if one less died. He had also seen a transformed sea demon, but it was not from the Golden Scales clan. Although the other party hid its aura very well, Zichun still sensed it. Wan He said, although the sea demons live at the bottom of the sea, they still need to live. They trade with the soul hunters, but most of them are here to collect information. No one cares? Zichun asked. Their concealment techniques are extremely profound. Only a few special existences can sense them. Wan He looked at the sea demon who was browsing the shops. If we weren't here, who would know that he's from the sea demon clan? Of course, the main reason is that the sea demon clan doesn't have any hostility towards us, so the soul hunters let them be. They didn't stay in the city. They bought some things and rested for the night before continuing on their journey. The further north they went, the slower their speed became. This was because the saber intent that landed on them became purer. The 3 of them subconsciously slowed down. Wan He sat on his horse and took his time. Just like that, they traveled for another half a year. During this time, they passed by 2 cities. Zichun realized that the realms of the people he met were getting higher. He even saw Earth Souls frequently. This made Zichun very curious about what was in the north. His goal was to bring Lan Gu Meng to the north. Another half a year passed. On this day, the 3 of them endured the saber intent as usual. Shanya, who was walking beside Zichun, suddenly dispersed the saber intent that flowed around her body after several hours. Immediately after, a powerful aura emanated from her body. This aura surpassed the human soul realm and reached the earth soul realm. Wan He, who was behind them, noticed this scene. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes. In his opinion, the first of the 3 to break through should be the divine soul goddess. He didn't expect it to be Shanya. Sensing the aura of the human soul realm, Zichun smiled and said, "Congratulations." Lan Gu Meng also had a smile on her face. This was the only thing worth celebrating on this somewhat boring journey. Unfortunately, Wan He didn't allow them to stop celebrating. They continued on their journey. He didn't even give Shanya time to quietly experience this realm. In just half a month, Lan Gu Meng broke through. She, who had been deliberately suppressing her state, reappeared the blue wings on her back. A unique aura was displayed. At this moment, under the sunlight, she was like a true heavenly maiden. At the same time, in the distant Lan family, the heavenly maiden statue also released a resplendent light. At the same time, a strong suction force enveloped the entire family. The spiritual energy of the entire Lan family was constantly converging towards the statue. The Lan family's spiritual energy was rapidly depleting. Such a phenomenon alarmed many people in the Lan family. Some were excited, while others cursed in low voices. Lan Rue, who was busy with work, personally came before the statue. He stood there for more than half a day. This time, the Lan family had spent a lot of effort to reorganize. If not for some radicals targeting the Heavenly Maiden, he would have been in even more trouble. Today's change should have been caused by the Heavenly Maiden's breakthrough. As a result, the Heavenly Maiden was only at the Earth Soul realm. He believed that no matter how radical the Lan family's radicals were, they wouldn't dare to assassinate the Heavenly Maiden. An Earth Soul realm Heavenly Maiden wasn't someone that could be killed by just anyone. The phenomenon on Lan Guming's body didn't dissipate for a long time. This shocked Wan He. He knew of the legends of Heavenly Maidens, but this was the first time he saw the phenomenon brought about by a Heavenly Maiden breaking through. She was only at the Earth Soul realm, but she was already so powerful. What would happen if she became a true Heavenly Maiden? No wonder it was said that Heavenly Maidens were the only hope of the North. Then, Wan He looked at Zichun. The disadvantage of being a descender was already displayed at this moment. No matter how strong Zichun was and how invincible he was in the same realm, he was naturally nothing in front of two Earth Soul realm experts. All right, let's move forward at full speed and head straight for the north. After Lan Guming had broken through, Wan He had said this sentence. Hey, isn't this too unfair? I haven't broken through yet. Zichun expressed his inner protest. Wan He said, your performance is already very good. The rest of the journey will depend on the two of them. After all, you are a descender. It's already very extraordinary for you to have such achievements. Wan He's words weren't just to encourage Zichun. He really did it and began to move at full speed. This made Zichun a little depressed. What's in the north? One day, Zichun finally couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked. Chapter 3960. Death Canyon? This was the first time Zichun had heard such a term. Yes, a place where only life and death are determined. Wan He said in a deep voice, only when you reach that place will you know that life and death are the most important things in the world. Wan He glanced at Zichun and said, your combat strength is extraordinary, but not everyone can go to the battlefield in that place. The simplest division is the realm. Only those in the Earth Soul realm are qualified to enter the battlefield to participate in the battle, but they are only the lowest soldiers and can die at any time. Zichun asked, the enemy is the soul-devouring clan? That's right. How long has the battle lasted? A long time, a long time. How will it end? Wan He thought for a moment and said, there has always been a legend that when the Death Canyon is filled with corpses, the battle between the two clans will end completely. Although Zichun had never seen the Death Canyon, he could imagine the fierce battle that had taken place in it through Wan He's simple description. Only those in the Earth Soul realm could participate in the battle. Obviously, he was not qualified. Wan He said, when we reach the city, I'll try to find you a job without danger, such as being a chef. An invincible Soul realm expert who had not broken through was treated like this in the Death Canyon. Zichun did not know whether to cry or laugh. Under normal circumstances, Lan Guming would definitely laugh at Zichun, but she did not this time. Because Zichun's current situation seemed to be like a king with supreme power who had become an ordinary person in a single move. No one would be able to withstand such a change. Shanya even felt a little sad for Zichun. She felt that fate was too unfair. When he was in Kata, Zichun had already suffered a lot. When he came here, he was also surrounded by dangers. That was why he could achieve what he had today. Why did the last part of the journey turn out like this? A chef? That's not bad. I'm very good at cooking. Zichun smiled and looked very cheerful. He did not feel like a tiger that had fallen from the plains. They continued to move forward, still speeding up. The further they went, the fewer cities they encountered. The size of the cities was also getting smaller. However, the number of experts in the cities was not small. In the end, Zichun could no longer see any soul realms. According to Wan He, nearly 60% of the soul hunters were gathered in the north. Wan He was still riding a horse. During one of their chats, Zichun learned that the horse had been with Wan He for a long time, and that it wasn't just bought from the roadside. On this day, Wanhee looked ahead and said, "Let's see what's different." Zichen looked ahead and saw a stretch of Gobi Desert, which was no different from this place. He raised his head to look at the sky. The color of the sky was different. It was a faint red. The clouds that gathered in the sky were blood red. That's called the blood cloud. It's said that it's formed from blood that won't disperse. Wanhee said, "Seeing the blood cloud means that we have arrived at the Death Canyon." Wanhee rode in the front. He entered the blood-red sky. The horse's body trembled obviously, as if it was bearing a great weight on its back. Zichen followed closely behind. His body swayed and he fell. A powerful force gathered from all directions, as if it wanted to press his body to the ground. At the same time, there seemed to be many small forces that entered his body, blocking the power of his entire body. The huge pressure kept coming, like a wave, pressing Zichen's body down bit by bit. Finally, he knelt on the ground, panting heavily. "How are you?" Shanya asked with concern, but her tone was not normal. Zichen shook his head and then looked at Shanya. He found that her face was very pale, and she did not seem to be feeling well. However, she still stood there, not in a sorry state like Zichen. On the other side, Lan Guming was the same. This is the area where the Blood Canyon is. After coming here, you will need to re-understand this world. Wanhee rode forward, but the horse's speed was relatively slow. Zichen stood up with difficulty and walked forward step by step. His speed could not keep up with Wanhee's horse. It should be noted that Wanhee was also walking with a heavy burden. Lan Guming and Shanya were faster than Zichen. However, the two deliberately took care of Zichen and did not walk very fast. The difference is obvious. Zichen laughed self-deprecatingly. The further they went, the stronger the pressure Zichen found. Not only did he not adapt, but he also felt that it was difficult to move. On the other hand, Shanya and Lan Guming seemed to have gradually adapted. When he looked back at Zichen, "How do you feel?" "There is a force that keeps entering my body, blocking the power of the past." Zichen said, "It's like the meridians are blocked, and the power that can be mobilized is very little." Wanhee said, "Feel it carefully and work hard to overcome it." Zichen nodded. After that, Zichen found that he could not overcome it at all. As they continued to move forward, he could not even mobilize the last bit of power. Zichen smiled bitterly again. After walking like this for several days, they ate all the food they brought. After being unable to mobilize power, Zichen found that his appetite had greatly increased, and he was often hungry. Finally, they saw a city. The city walls were blood-red, as if cast with blood and mud. The city gate was wide open, and there were no guards at the gate. As they approached, a bloody aura came, making Zichen feel a strong sense of oppression. They entered the city, but did not see a single person. Wanhee dismounted from his horse and stood there. Zichen said, "This city seems to be empty." As soon as he said that, a man walked out from the corner and quickly walked toward them. When he came closer, the man asked, "Who are you?" "Wanhee of the Holy Mountain." Wanhee took out the Holy Mountain token that represented his identity. After looking at the token, the man smiled and said, "The three of you come with me." Wanhee said, "Not 3, but 4. 4? The man was slightly stunned and said, "But he's only in the human soul realm." According to the rules, before the man could finish, Wanhee said, "I have the authority to take him in." "All right then." The man did not dwell on this matter and directly motioned for the 4 to follow. At this time, Zichen and the other 2 were still confused and did not know what was going on. The 5 of them walked toward the center of the city. Along the way, they saw some people, and all of them were in the human soul realm. Most of the gazes of these human soul realm experts would linger on Zichen. With Lan Guming and Shanya beside him, Zichen was never the most eye-catching one, because it was never his turn. The 2 great beauties would take away all the attention. Unexpectedly, he became the focus of attention today. Chapter 39:61. In the center of the city, there were 2 stone pillars. There were ancient carvings on the pillars, and on the carvings were some unknown beasts. An old man sat cross-legged beside them like a guardian. The people who appeared in Zichen's field of vision were all at the human soul realm. Furthermore, They were all sizing him up with strange gazes. It was as though Zichun received more attention and was more attractive than the two beautiful girls. The young man who led the way took the initiative to leave after bringing the four of them here. When he walked forward with Zichun following behind. The two girls walked side by side with him on his left and right. The old man opened his eyes. His eyes were a little turbid, and there was no aura around him. He didn't look like an otherworldly expert at all. However, to be able to guard this place, the old man's identity was naturally extraordinary. It was just that the few of them couldn't sense the old man's cultivation realm. Sacred Mountains Wan He approached and took the initiative to bow to the old man. The old man glanced at Wan He and nodded. Then, he looked to the side. When his gaze landed on Lan Gumeng, his eyes seemed to sparkle. Then, he looked at Zichun and Shanya. Although this is your first time here, Golden Saber Wan He's reputation has long been known. This time, are you and your saber prepared? My saber is sharp and ready to be stained with blood at any time, Wan He said with a heroic aura. That's good. The old man looked at Lan Gumeng and Shanya. There's no problem with the two of them. Then, the old man looked at Zichun, who was standing in the middle. A human soul realm stood between two earth soul realm experts and acted as if it was only natural. It was quite interesting. Retracting his gaze from Zichun, the old man said, "But are you sure you want to let him in? Don't you need to adapt to this place? Since he's someone you brought, I can make an exception." As he didn't know much about this place, Zichun didn't know what the old man was talking about. Wan He shook his head. "No need. Just go in. Since you've already made your decision, please go ahead." The old man sat there without moving. Wan He walked forward to the center of the two pillars of light. The stone pillar, which had existed for an unknown number of years, began to glow. The carvings on it became vivid and lifelike. Those strange birds and beasts seemed to be coming to life. Zichun looked at the stone pillar and saw a familiar pattern. It was the blue dragon beast. Just as Zichun was surprised that the stone pillar had a blue dragon beast engraved on it, he saw a tunnel appear between the two stone pillars. "Follow me into Bloody Battle City." Wan He was the first to step into the passageway. Immediately, a blood-red light burst out from the stone pillar. The old man nodded slightly, seemingly very satisfied with this. Walking behind Wan He was Lan Gumeng. After she entered, she also brought about a strange phenomenon on the stone pillar. Within the original blood-red light, there was now a resplendent blue light. After that, it was Shanya's turn to enter the passageway, triggering a dazzling light. There was clearly a strange glint in the old man's eyes. Finally, it was Zichun. As a human soul, he was the last to enter. However, before he entered, the old man suddenly said, "If you can't persist, I can't allow you to retreat. Sometimes, retreating is to advance better the next time. It's not shameful. Take this. You can retreat at any time." The old man threw a blood-colored token to Zichun. Zichun took the token but didn't immediately enter. After some hesitation, he asked, "Sir, may I ask where this place is?" "You don't know where this place is?" The old man's eyes were filled with astonishment. "I only know that it's Death Canyon. Previously, I heard that we were about to go to Bloody Battle City. I don't know anything else," Zichun said truthfully. "Kid, you sure are bold. You dare come here to join in the fun without knowing where this place is." The old man sized up Zichun and said, "However, it's not a bad thing to not know where this place is. All you need to know is that this is a place for battle. In the entire world, there's no place more suitable for battle tempering than here." Zichun asked, "Then are there cultivation techniques here?" He had already sent Lan Gumeng to the north and completed the instructions of the Lan family's ancestor. Now, it was time for him to consider himself. After all, he had been here for too long. "Of course," said the old man. Zichun asked again, "Are there any special cultivation techniques?" This time, the old man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he thought about it seriously and finally said, "As long as you can name a cultivation method, there should be many. Even if you can't name it, there are still many. It depends on whether you have the ability to obtain it." At this point, Zichun was relieved. After putting away the blood-colored token, he cupped his fists at the old man and thanked him before turning to leave. Zichun, who entered, didn't cause any abnormalities to the stone pillar. However, the old man didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the world seemed to tremble the moment Zichun disappeared. However, some of the old men who were distracted wondered if they were hallucinating. Wanhee is already hard to find in 1,000 years, and the Holy Maiden is even more amazing. In addition, there's a strange woman who doesn't seem to be weaker than the Holy Maiden. They should be able to bring some changes to Bloody Battle City. The old man murmured, I wonder where that woman came from. She's actually on par with the Holy Maiden. Then, the old man sighed again. The reason why he gave the young man whose name he didn't even know a chance to retreat was that the old man was in a good mood today. On the other hand, he was worried that the young man would be too stubborn and his mind wouldn't be able to bear the blow. After all, someone who could be recognized by Wanhee and brought in should have some special abilities. Perhaps with some training, he would become a warrior in the future. Even if his achievements couldn't be compared to any of the three, it would still be good to have another talented warrior. The young man who led the way earlier walked over. Master, isn't this against the rules? The old man turned his head and said, What do you mean by against the rules? Bringing someone in earlier was already a privilege. Master also gave him a blood-colored battle token. This is a privilege that some general-level warriors don't even have. What if he uses this token to commit crimes after going in? The young man said with some resentment in his eyes. The old man was amused when he heard this. Get lost, you little brat. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Let me tell you, there's no way you can go in. The young man said with grievance, Master, I'm your dearest disciple. You're even willing to give a stranger a blood-colored battle token. Why don't you allow me to go to Bloody Battle City? Why? Because this old man is in a good mood. What do you know? Hurry up and get lost. When you master the soul-shaking art, you can stand in front of me and reason with me. The old man waved his sleeve and a wind appeared, carrying the young man away. The old man's mood was really good because after so many years, the Holy Maiden had finally come to Bloody Battle Valley. Zichun came to Bloody Battle City. The pressure of this world was even greater, so he needed some time to adapt. Chapter 39-62. My name is Zhang Jinjing. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. First of all, I welcome you. Now, please come with me. After Zichun arrived at Bloody Battle City, Wanhee, who was waiting here, said goodbye to him. The three of them left together, and the young man called Zhang Jinjing came. At this moment, Zichun's mind was in a mess. He didn't know what to ask. The sudden departure of the three of them made him feel a little uncomfortable. Zhang Jinjing turned around and walked in another direction. Zichun followed him, but after taking a few steps, he staggered and stumbled. The pressure here was extremely great. He still couldn't get used to it, so it was inconvenient for him to walk. Zhang Jinjing turned and saw this scene. He smiled and said, It's always like this when you just arrive. I'll walk slower. You can get used to it. Zichun smiled gratefully and followed with difficulty. Zhang Jinjing took the initiative to say, You were brought in directly by the three Earth Soul Realm experts from before, right? Zichun nodded. Zhang Jinjing said with some envy, If that's the case, there must be a general-level expert among the three of them. Zichun asked in confusion, General-level expert? What do you mean? Zhang Jinjing was obviously not surprised by Zichun's confusion. It was normal for people who came here to not understand the division of the system. He explained, All the Earth Soul Realm experts who enter the battlefield are only at the soldier level. Only by obtaining enough military merits can they be promoted to the general level and lead a small team. However, this is only the majority of people. There are some special existences. When they come here and pass the test, they already have the strength of the general level. Or some geniuses who became famous early and were recognized by others early on can also be granted the qualification of the general level in advance after coming here. And these people are qualified to bring a human soul realm expert here to train in advance. After hearing the other party's explanation, Zichun finally understood why those human soul realm experts looked at him with strange gazes. He had come in through the back door. Then under normal circumstances, how can one come here? Zichun asked. Now that I've gotten used to the suppression of the laws outside, my movements are no longer hindered. Furthermore, I've even gained the approval of the gatekeeper outside. Zhang Jingjing smiled and said, the first reason is not necessary. The most important thing is the mood of the gatekeeper. If he says you are qualified, then you are qualified. If he says you are not, then it's not too late to wait and come in. The old man from before? This made Zichen's heart beat faster. This wasn't the first time the other party had said that he wasn't qualified enough. Was it really a mistake for him to come here? The old man from before? Zichen asked. Zhang Jingjing nodded. Because there was only one gatekeeper, there wouldn't be any cognitive errors. It was said that the old man had been looking for a suitable successor to become the next gatekeeper. This made many human souls who came here to try their luck, but none of them caught the old man's eye. Will there be times when he makes a mistake? Zichen asked. Zhang Jingjing hurriedly gestured for him to keep quiet. He warned him in a low voice, be careful with your words. Lord Gatekeeper possesses remarkable abilities. He is an out-and-out heavenly soul. How could he make a mistake? Heavenly soul? Zichen's expression changed slightly, and he was somewhat shocked. This was because this represented the highest realm in this world. Just like the Saint Venerables in the Saint Spirit domain, they were at the top of the pyramid. How could that ordinary old man with blurred eyes be so powerful? Furthermore, he could hear him just by muttering a few words here and there. Wasn't this a little too strange? However, looking at Zhang Jingjing's serious expression, it clearly didn't seem like he was joking. At the entrance, the old man who was sitting cross-legged had a smile on his face. You little kid, it's one thing to say that this old man is ordinary, but you actually said that this old man's eyes are blurred. This is called reserved, okay? Forget it. I won't argue with this ignorant junior. I don't want to lose face. Your situation belongs to the latter, so there should be some small troubles coming for you. You just need to be more tolerant, because private fights are not allowed here. No matter what happens, private fights are not allowed. Zhang Jingjing pointed in the direction that one he and the others had left. If the grudge is too great, then go to the canyon and fight. What should I do next? Zichen gradually caught up with Zhang Jingjing, who had deliberately slowed down his pace. Zhang Jingjing carefully sized up Zichen. In your current state, you should get used to it first. We'll talk about other things when you're free to move. The rest of the journey was all by walking, which gave Zichen more time to get used to it. Along the way, Zhang Jingjing took the initiative to talk about the situation here. For example, most of the workers here were chefs. They needed to cook a strange beast that could only be found in the Death Canyon. Everyone relied on this beast to replenish their energy and maintain their lives. Human soul realm experts were not allowed to participate in the battle. This was a rule that no one could defy. When Zichen asked for the reason, Zhang Jingjing told him that it was because human soul realm experts weren't going to fight at all, but going to their deaths. There were too many corpses in the Death Canyon, so one more didn't matter. There's something more important that I haven't told you, and that's the Death Soul Stone. Speaking of this, Zhang Jingjing's expression became extremely serious. In this blood-red world, there are rules that belong to it. Regardless of whether it's the soul hunters or the soul devourers, once they're killed, they'll leave behind a Death Soul Stone. The Death Soul Stone is both a merit and money. It can also be used as a resource to increase one's realm. It's the most precious thing. Zichen memorized the Death Soul Stone, but it wasn't what he wanted. He was most concerned about the cultivation method. Where can I get the cultivation method? Cultivation method, of course. Zhang Jingjing sighed and then looked up at the sky. When you advance to the Earth's soul realm and accumulate enough merit, the gate of sky will naturally open for you. There, you'll have endless cultivation methods to choose from. Zichen looked up but didn't see the gate of sky. Only with enough merit can you see it and open it. Zhang Jingjing brought Zichen to the place of residence. Fortunately, the place was pretty good. Everyone had a room, and they didn't have to share it. I'll go and make some arrangements. I'll come and find you in 5 days. By the way, what's your name? Zhang Jingjing asked. Zichen said. Zichen? Zhang Jingjing said. I'm only giving you 5 days to adapt. It's indeed a little rushed, but this is the most I can provide. Under normal circumstances, it's 1 day. After feeling his own condition, Zichen said, Thank you. 5 days should be enough. Well, I won't disturb you anymore." Zhang Jingjing said goodbye and left. Zichen didn't have time to feel emotional about all this. He didn't dare to waste any time and began to try his best to adapt. The cultivation method was running, but no power was mobilized. However, Zichen didn't give up and kept persevering. Just as Zichen was trying his best to adapt to this place, he took the two girls and took the test. The dazzling light that erupted from the light pillar caused an uproar. Everyone was extremely shocked. In addition to Jindo Wanhe, Longu Meng and Shanya both had the potential to reach the general realm. It was extremely rare to have 3 general realm experts in one day. The 3 of them became the absolute focus of everyone's attention. Although the 2 girls had long been used to being the center of attention, they were still not used to it because they were surrounded by people in the Earth Soul realm. Immediately, an old man walked out and personally received the 3 of them. In just half a day, the news about the 3 of them had spread. It was said that Longu Meng and Shanya voluntarily gave up the opportunity to reach the general realm and were willing to join Wanhe's team. At the same time, 2 unfamiliar Earth Soul realm experts joined them, forming a 5-person team. They didn't immediately participate in the battle. Instead, they first familiarized themselves with everything here, including the rules. Even when they first participated in the battle, someone had to secretly protect them. These 3 people with the potential to reach the general realm couldn't have any accidents happen to them in their first battle. That would be a great loss for the soul hunting race. They learned everything about this place, including some secrets. They knew far more than Zichen. They learned about it for 3 days. On the 4th day, they entered the Death Canyon for the first time to adapt to the environment there. Zichen stayed in his room and tried his best to adapt. Although he still couldn't mobilize his power, Zichen, who had been persevering, made great progress. Zhang Jingjing would come twice a day to deliver food to Zichen. Without any power to use, Zichen was like an ordinary person. Every day, he would expend a lot of energy to use his cultivation technique, so he would need to replenish himself with food. It was said that it was the meat of a kind of exotic beast. It was a little raw and didn't taste very good, but it contained a lot of power. A small piece was enough to fill one's stomach. On this day, after Zhang Jingjing brought food to Zichen, he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he talked about some things he had heard. 3 general realm experts in one day. That's really amazing. Zhang Jingjing sighed and then opened his mouth. I know about Lord Wanhe. The name of Golden Saber has spread all over this place. Who knows how many powerful people are secretly waiting for him to come. Moreover, he didn't disappoint. Golden Saber successfully advanced to the top 10 and came to the Death Canyon. Zichen had followed Wanhe and heard about the 10th place, but he didn't understand its meaning. He asked curiously, why is Golden Saber in the top 10? Only the top 10 Holy Soul weapons are qualified to become General Realm experts. This is already common knowledge, Zhang Jingjing said. Zichen was very surprised that he was paying attention to the Holy Soul weapon list on the Holy Mountain. Lord Wanhe's weapon level is high enough, but are those 2 beauties high enough? Zhang Jingjing murmured, one is Longu Meng, and the other is Shanya. They look very young and are top beauties. They haven't been famous before. Why are they on the same level as Lord Wanhe? By the way, Zichen, the 3 of them are said to have arrived on the same day as you. You should know them, right? Yes, it was the 3 of them who brought me in. I'm very grateful for that, Zichen said without hiding anything. That's great, Zhang Jingjing said excitedly. Then your relationship must be very good, right? Looking at Zhang Jingjing's excited look, Zichen thought for a moment and said, it's mainly Lord Wanhe who brought me in. As for the 2 of them, they're just ordinary. These words were carefully considered because Zhang Jingjing's expression was obviously not right. Just ordinary is good. You can definitely talk to each other. Zhang Jingjing lowered his head and whispered in Zichen's ear, I have a business deal. Would you like to join in? If you're lucky, you might get a Death Soul Stone. Looking at his shining eyes, Zichen shook his head and said, not interested. Chapter 39:63. Hearing Zichen's unhesitant rejection, Zhang Jingjing became anxious. Don't do that. That's a Death Soul Stone. If you get one, not only will you be able to adapt to this place faster, you might even be able to break through to the Earth Soul realm. After all, that's the essence of an Earth Soul Realm expert. It's extremely beneficial to us. Zichen shook his head again and said helplessly, I know that the Death Soul Stone is a good thing, but I can't do anything about it. I'm not close to them. Zhang Jingjing said, you don't have to be too close to them. As long as you know them and can pass on the message, it's fine. I promise that you won't be short of benefits. Zichen obviously understood what Zhang Jingjing meant, but he still did not agree. Zhang Jingjing was helpless, but he did not force Zichen. He bid farewell and left. When he reached the door, he shook his head regretfully. How can there be such an unenlightened person in this world? In the room, Zichen smiled. Looks like the two of you are not bad. I might have to rely on the two of you for a long time. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. Zichen walked out of the room for the first time. The pressure here still affected him to a certain extent, but it was not as great as before. He could also move freely. Zhang Jingjing punctually waited at the door and said, It's been arranged. From now on, you'll be in charge of handling the beast meat with the others. Zichen clasped his fists and said, Thank you. Zhang Jingjing smiled and said, Are you really not going to consider that matter? Zichen said helplessly, There's no way to consider it. I'm not close to them. Otherwise, why wouldn't they come to see me? We're really just strangers who met by chance. Zhang Jingjing sized up Zichen as if he was looking at a monster. What? Zichen felt uneasy being stared at. He thought that he had made a mistake somewhere. Zhang Jingjing said, Don't you know? The two fairies are familiarizing themselves with the battlefield. The rules here are far more than usual. They have to abide by all the rules and know all the details. Although they've been to the battlefield once, the higher-ups have forbidden them from taking action. Why? Zichen asked, puzzled. Because it's important. They definitely can't be allowed to take any risks and face any danger. It's said that more than one heavenly soul realm expert is secretly guarding them. They're afraid that they'll be in danger. Zhang Jingjing sighed and said, To tell you the truth, according to the information I received, many seniors regard the two fairies as their treasures. They can't wait to tell them all the threats and rules in this place in advance. If it were an ordinary person, they would have already entered the battlefield. As for the rules and dangers, they would have to figure it out themselves. When Zichen heard this, he was relieved. It seemed that the two of them were in a better situation than Zichen had imagined. The fact that Lan Guming was the goddess of the divine soul still had not spread. This proved that the people here wanted to suppress this matter as a top secret. However, the importance they attached to the goddess of the divine soul did not decrease. Zichen was happy for Lan Guming from the bottom of his heart. Compared to the trap set by the Lan family on the way here, the people here treated her sincerely. This was her home. As for Shanya receiving the same treatment, it was definitely done by those with extraordinary eyesight. This was because Zichen knew that in terms of talent, Shanya, who was favored by the heavens, was not inferior to the goddess of the divine soul. Zhang Jingjing brought Zichen to an extremely large room. Along the way, the human soul realm experts would nod at Zhang Jingjing when they saw him. Zhang Jingjing would also smile in response. It was obvious that he was very popular with people. Zichen, this is the place in charge of dissecting the beast meat. As this is your first time here, the last position is yours. The head here will tell you what you need to do every day. Zhang Jingjing gently waved his hand. A man in a long gown walked over. Zhang Jingjing smiled and said, Diwu, this is the Zichen that I told you about. Zichen, this is Diwu, the head here. He is also the manager. Zichen quickly cupped his fists and said, Zichen greets big brother Diwu. Diwu smiled like an elegant scholar and said, No need to be so courteous. We are all family from now on. Go over there and familiarize yourself. Zichen nodded and walked towards the last position. In this enormous room, there were at least 100 people dissecting the beast meat. The smell of blood permeated the air. This place was only in charge of the preliminary processing. As for the cooking, it was done by someone else. Just as he arrived at his position, a young butterball came to Zichen. He sized up Zichen and said in a deep voice, Newcomer, call me senior brother. Zichen smiled. Butterball said again, Call me senior brother. Call me senior brother now. Zichen said, Are you sure? He squinted his eyes, and there seemed to be sharpness in his eyes. The fatty's body trembled. The imposing manner that he had put on earlier had completely disappeared. His straight back had also drooped down at this moment. Zichen patted him on the shoulder and smiled. That's good. You really didn't put on a good act before. The reason why he was certain that the other party was putting on an act was because when the fatty was on his way here, the few people along the way all looked at him with undisguised disgust. How could such a person be a senior brother? Zichen said, I am Zichon. Don't do such stupid things in the future. Otherwise, people will hate you even more. Butterball snorted and said, Count yourself lucky. I am here to warn you. Be careful in the future. They are very unfriendly to those who came in through connections. Zichen still had the smile on his face. You should use the word warn. That would be more pleasing. Butterball turned and left. The people around him didn't want to see him. Butterball walked to a corner and began to deal with the pile of internal organs. It seemed that his status was lower than Zichen's, the newcomer. Then, Zichen realized that the way the people looked at him was a little different. Zichen just smiled at them. Then, like the people beside him, he took a tool and began to dissect. A day passed. Zichen was silent and didn't rest. Naturally, no trouble came to him. During this time, there were some deliberate words, but Zichen didn't take it to heart. In the eyes of the people, this seemed to be taking the initiative to show weakness. Therefore, there was less trouble. After all, Zichen still had a connection, so no one dared to deliberately provoke him. Day after day, Zichen's days were very peaceful. Every day, he could hear news about Shanya and Lan Meng. The two girls had become the focus of everyone's attention. Other than beauties, there were also heroes. It was said that many young geniuses had launched wooing attacks towards the two of them, but it was said that they had never received a response. Zichen, who was dissecting the beast meat, couldn't help but shake his head and smile when he heard this news. It seemed that no matter where he went, there would be gossip. Zhang Jingjing didn't come again during this period of time, which made Zichen much quieter. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. It was said that Lan Meng and Shanya had finally remembered all the rules and stepped onto the battlefield. For a moment, everyone was guessing if the two of them had returned empty-handed. On the same day, the team returned successfully. It was said that they had gained something. This news was brought back by those who sent food to the Earth Soul realm. Some of it was true, while others were fabricated. Originally, Zichen only listened to it as a story. In any case, other than Zhang Jingjing, no one knew that he knew the two girls. But on the day the two girls returned from the battlefield, his peaceful life was broken. Chapter 39-64. There were more than 100 people in the operation room. When they found out that Fairy Shanya was outside the door, they were all in disbelief. Then, everyone scrambled to run out of the door. They all wanted to see the beauty of the fairy, who knew that at this moment, everyone's eyes lit up. Fairy Shanya actually took the initiative to come in. She didn't mind the dirty and messy place and the thick smell of blood. Zhang Jingjing followed beside Shanya with a smile and pride on his face. Diwu quickly came forward. He was also surprised by the appearance of this fairy. After entering, Shanya's eyes quickly looked around. Then, she saw Zichen in the end. He was wearing a special uniform, which was stained with blood. Zichen, she shouted. In the end, Zichen became the focus of everyone's attention. Everyone's gazes were filled with complicated and inexplicable emotions. Butterball, who was far away, was shocked. He looked at Zichen in disbelief. Zichen took off his uniform, turned around, and smiled at Shanya. Then, he walked over. Everyone's eyes were on Zichen as he moved. Their expressions kept changing. Why are you here? Zichen asked as he walked closer. I came to visit you when I had time. How's it here? Shanya asked with a smile. At this moment, the entire operation room that was filled with the smell of blood seemed to have brightened up because of Shanya's smile. Not bad. Everyone treats me well. Zichen said. Zhang Jingjing, who was at the side, opened his eyes wide. Didn't this kid say that he wasn't close to the two fairies? Since they weren't close, why did the fairies specially come to visit him? Let's talk outside, Shanya said. Zichen glanced at Diwu. Diwu nodded in tacit agreement. Let's go. Zichun walked forward. Shanya habitually followed behind Zichun. At this moment, Zhang Jinjing was even more dumbfounded. The surrounding people were also stunned. Diwu's expression changed slightly. However, Zichun slowed down very quickly. When Shanya approached him, Zichun deliberately slowed down by half a step. This way, it looked much more normal. Hurry up, I have something good for you. Who would have thought that at this moment, Shania would pull Zichun and walk towards the outer door. Zichun did not turn around, but he could still feel the burning gazes behind him. Big brother, Master God. In the distance, Butterball's eyes were filled with admiration as he tried his best to widen them. Walking out of the door, Shanya let go of Zichun's hand and winked at him playfully. I say, Fairy, why do you have to be like this? Zichun couldn't help but smile bitterly. In the past, you were the one who took care of me. From now on, this fairy will take care of you. Shanya smiled and said, See, didn't I help you gain some face just now? Zichun smiled bitterly again. How was that gaining some face? It was clearly gaining a lot of hatred. Let's go to your residence and see if the environment here is good. Shanya said, Let's go. Zichun could only nod. Just as the two of them were leaving, one of them quietly appeared and ran back the way they came from. They went back. Fairy actually followed Zichun back to his residence. As the news spread, there was an uproar in the operation room. Zhang Jinjing was regretful because he felt that he missed out on a big deal. On the other hand, Diwu looked at Zhang Jinjing with a questioning gaze. Zhang Jinjing was annoyed. This Zichun looked honest. Why didn't he tell the truth? Looking at his relationship with Fairy Shanya, could he be Fairy's brother? As for lovers, he didn't even think about it. After all, how could a general stage prodigy like a mere human soul stage that wasn't outstanding at all? After returning to Zichun's room, Shanya looked around and said, It's not bad. 1 room per person. Zichun gestured for her to sit down and poured a cup of water for Shanya. He said, What's wrong? Are you in trouble? What do you mean? Shanya didn't understand. Using me as a shield. If you're not in trouble, then what is? Zichun glanced at Shanya and said angrily, I don't understand others, but do you think I don't understand you, Fairy? Shanya was a little embarrassed, but she was happy in her heart. It's indeed a little troublesome. Some people are always using various reasons to get close to us. There are even a few heavenly souls who intend to be matchmakers for their juniors. Shanya secretly glanced at Zichun and deliberately raised her voice. Being pursued by so many people and not knowing who to choose is really troublesome. Zichun pretended not to hear her. So you pushed me out. We can't ask one right? He doesn't care about anything, and we don't know anyone here. We can only ask you, Shanya said pitifully. It had only been a month since they last met, and this girl had learned how to act. Zichun said helplessly, But I'm only at the human soul stage. Can I stop them? Shanya immediately came forward and said, That's why we brought you something good. At such a close distance, Zichun could even smell the fragrance coming from Shanya's body. 2 death soul stones. I hope you can break through quickly. 1 stone could be obtained from killing an earth soul stage expert. Shanya and Lan Gumeng had only been on the battlefield once since they came here. It seemed like these were their spoils of war. Xiaoyu was afraid that you would be under too much pressure, so he didn't come. But we've already gotten the message. You have to work hard. We're waiting for you to save us. With that, Shanya put down the death soul stones and walked away. But after taking a few steps, her eyes turned slightly, and she stopped again. She told Zichun some things about the Death Canyon. Other than being careful of the soul-devouring race, you also have to be careful of the strange beasts there. Those strange beasts are also everyone's food source, the ones you decomposed. The canyon is not a real canyon. It's more like a world, or an independent battlefield. Shanya said, It's impossible to fill that battlefield with corpses. The battle between the soul-devouring race and the soul-hunting race will definitely not end. Everyone can die on the battlefield, including those at the heavenly soul realm. On this day, news came that Fairy Shanya had left the bloody battle inner city and went to the outer city to find a human soul stage expert. She stayed in his room for 4 hours. When this news came out, it caused an uproar. It should be known that the two fairies had not communicated with outsiders for more than a month since they came here. They were very aloof. Why did they look for a human soul stage expert? For a moment, everyone began to ask about the human soul stage expert's name and background. Zichan had not broken through yet, nor had he advanced, but his reputation had spread. Many Earth Soul stage experts even began to pay attention to Zichan, wanting to know more about him. The gatekeeper at the entrance shook his head and said, "Young man, your training has begun. Actually, it's best for you to take a step back now. You don't have the strength, but you still want to show off. That's a bad idea." With a loud bang, Zichan's door was kicked open, and an ear-piercing sound was heard.